disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
Wait.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA Boxing.
Well. Welcome everybody to another BDA Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the true north. Whoa, it's your good friend Mr. BDA, and I'm glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. Thank you for being on. We've got a fantastic show for everybody because we had a triple header last night that delivered. I tell you, sometimes these fights that don't look all that great on paper just end up delivering more than the ones that we expect to look good on paper. Be that as it may, we're going to talk about all of that, cover all the action from last night. We're going to be opening up the phone lines near the end. In about an hour. 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how everything goes. Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, fellas, right off the bat. You can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, and Spreaker at your leisure. If you want to send a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to wire them via the Super Chat. Although it's better if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. Special emojis, badges, the whole shebang. The most important thing is you continue to like, subscribe, spread that BDA gospel, all right? And by the way, let me give a shout out to all our members. We always put the membership program page up, but I never actually mentioned them by name. You guys like Leonardo Campos Vasquez, One Foot Out the Door, Steven Schneider, It Was All a Dream, WK Devon, Rafael Garza, Ruskin, Boswell, The Quags, Logical Man, well, I don't think he's still there, To Abuela, Norman Luis, Jaguar, Rapax Drunken Company, Andre Shooter, J Money, King Bucho, saluted as always, Ollie G, Frankie Sands, I'm Your Leader, Stephen Bateman, SSC, MBM, Official Scorecard Boxing, Joker, Allwell, Amak PvP, Stagger Elite Goods, Never Sobers, and Albert Cadell. Maybe some that I missed, because again, the page is not, I don't know if it's completely updated, but you guys are completely saluted. Up the wazoo, fellas. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And let's appreciate also the people in the chat right now as well. Transnational Inc., Logic, Eparukua, Sergeant Z USMC, Hassam Ahmed, H. Felix, Eparukua, Earl Stevens, Alejandro Solis, Alfredo Contreras, Timothy Figueroa, Team Batman Boxing, Brown Mexican, Official Scorecard Boxing, shout out to him. Top Dog in the house as well, shout out to Top Dog, and many more people to come, I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, let's get down to it. There'll be more thanks to follow, trust me. There's going to be enough to go for everybody. Abundance. We're going to talk about Figueroa. Brandon Figueroa took on the power-punching Mark Magsayo, and it was an interesting fight. An interesting fight right off the bat. Natural counter-puncher and power-puncher as well. In Mark Magsayo taking on the come-forward fighter in Brandon Figueroa, who lost a razor-thin decision. Razor-thin to Stephen Fulton not that long ago. And so now Figueroa redeems himself with this win. It was the scorecards. We're going to talk about the scorecards later. But first of all, give me 2 seconds here because something's fucking up. But in the meantime, I've got Jimmy Reno and I've got King Butcher in the house. Fellas, are you there?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for being on. So Figueroa, I want to get to the scorecards later. It was a unanimous decision, but it was an action jam-packed fight. Figueroa coming forward absorbing what Magsayo had to dish out early, and then sort of gradually taking over. Although Magsayo never stopped trying, but there was a lot of clinching. Who wants to go first with their assessment of the fight?
I'll just go quickly because I can't stay long.
How dare you?
The fight was Magsayo versus Figueroa was a great fight. I think Magsayo was winning the first part of the fight, but then Figueroa, I think, just took over. I don't know. The commentators were saying that. I mean, they were agreeing that Figueroa was being the more active boxer, but they were saying that Magsayo was landing the more spectacular shots or more. But I mean, they should be judging the fight, saying what's actually happening, who's winning the fight, right? And I think Figueroa was winning the fight because not only was he more active, he was landing a lot of those shots. It wasn't like he was just being active and throwing slaps or throwing punches that were being. Or they were hitting Magsayo's gloves. So, I don't know. They wanted to make you believe that the fight was closer than what it was. I don't think it was that close, to be honest. I think Figueroa was just with his activity. Again, he was just winning the fight. And by the way, a lot of those were knockdowns. A lot of those were knockdowns. If your glove touches a canvas and you weren't pushed, then that's a knockdown. If you're tired, I don't give a shit. It's a knockdown. If you take a knee, that's a knockdown. So, at least one of those times when Magsayo touched the canvas with his glove, those should have been counted as a knockdown. Maybe he was like pushed at one of those moments, but he was going down because of fatigue. That to me, that's a knockdown because you're wasting time at the same time. You're waiting for the referee to, go over there. He grabs the glove, he cleans the gloves off and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm ranting over here. But good fight, and yeah, Figueroa won the fight in my opinion.
You're absolutely right about the knockdowns. If you're walking around and you drop to the ground and your gloves touch the canvas, that's a knockdown. It's a fine point that people miss, and I didn't even know. I had to look it up this morning just to make sure that it was correct. And yeah, obviously if you're tangled up and you drop to the ground, it's not a knockdown. That's a tumble. That's a trip. But if you're walking around and you take a knee, that's eventually it's going to be a knockdown because you can't just be going around taking knees and taking breaks. In fact, if you stay on the canvas and you don't get up, guess what? You get counted out by the ref. So that's true. A lot of those should have been counted as knockdowns. Magsayo was just trying to do whatever he could to.
And Magsayo was like, just quickly, what about his head? Like he's coming in with his head because he's looking at the ground and he's charging forward. I mean, that's a potential. I mean, that could cause a headbutt because of a headbutt. He's just going in with his head like that. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I want to hear what Jimmy has to say.
Yes, Jimmy, go ahead, man. Give us your assessment of the fight, if you will.
Well. It kind of went as I thought it would. I agree with pretty much everything Bucho said. I thought the scorecards were a little wide, but I mean it is what it is. Which just tells you, I think they had. I think that Magsayo would have had to knock out Figueroa to win. I don't think the judges. Obviously, Figueroa was the house fighter. His older brother's relationship too with Al. So I think that's who they wanted to win, but. Figueroa, he did what he does. He comes forward. He just keeps going. Can have to be someone who can really crack at that side and just has good foot movements. But yeah, it went like I thought. I thought he beat him. I thought Magsayo actually did a little better than I thought he would do. I thought he would probably almost stop him, but I don't think Figueroa. He's just volume. He doesn't have that one-shot stinger power. Just thumps you up enough that you don't want to stand there, keep taking him. But absolutely right. Your glove touches the ground. I don't give a shit if it's fatigue or not. You fucking call it a knockdown. If not, take a point away because you're fucking around. That's my opinion on that.
I mean, Magsayo was doing what I call guerrilla boxing. He was flurrying and then buying time. And when I say guerrilla boxing, it's really involving clinching, dirty tactics, like Bucho said, running into the guy with his head and then dropping to the ground and then having to stall us. The referee would have to clean his gloves. That being said, I'm a little ambivalent about a couple of things here. Number one, the scorecards were way too wide. But I want to get back to that after when I point something out here. But the scorecards are 117-109 twice and 118-108 all for Brandon Figueroa. But I will say this. I think Magsayo did this to himself because, A, we know that judges like a guy that's coming forward and making the fight. And B, if they see a guy clinching, dropping to the ground, getting points taken away from him, guess what? These are the type of scorecards that are going to happen every once in a while. Now, I still think that the scorecards were a little too wide because Magsayo was doing good work, but at the same time, I reiterate, he did this to himself with the way he was fighting. He's got those fast twitch muscles, this guy. He punches hard, he's explosive, but his gas tank, he has to fight in spots. His gas tank, he just can't sustain it. Now, fellas, bear with me here because I'm having connection issues. So I don't know if you can hear me properly still. All right. I think we're reestablished here. I don't know if you guys heard what I was saying, but I think Magsayo did this to himself.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. And
I heard you clear too.
Thank you, fellas. Check this out, guys. Figueroa threw 653 shots, landed 176. Magsayo threw 593, landed 179. So in terms of clean punching, it was according to CompuBox, which again is just an estimation. It doesn't necessarily tell you who won or who lost, just based on that. But it indicates that it was a close fight as far as clean punching goes. But what do you guys think about what I said? Like, if a guy's clinching and stalling, isn't he doing himself a disservice with the judges?
Of course, it looks like he's losing. It looks like when you do that, you don't do that because you're winning a fight. You don't do that when you're dominant. You're doing that because you're looking to stop either getting hit or you run out of answers. In body language a couple of times too. But no, he actually landed one more punch, and his connect ratio was what he had, like a 30% connect ratio to Figueroa was 27%. Figueroa just does it's the same. You don't need to watch. You see one Figueroa fight, you've seen them all. He's not going to do anything different. That's how he comes at you. I'm just surprised that people would stand there and always try to not do something a little different with them. But it is what it is.
It's interesting. He's a good counterpuncher, but he can't fight going forward, and his gas tank is flawed. So, like you said, he's gonna be hard to beat for certain guys that lack skill, but for others, if you can outwork him, because his gas tank isn't all that. And as we saw with Ray Vargas, he can be outboxed from the outside because he's not the greatest at cutting off the ring or putting on pressure or being the first guy to attack, to get off the punch. So, he's interesting. He's an interesting fighter. He would make for interesting fights like he did with Ceja, depending on how he's matched. Now, again, we have to say, hopefully people don't get tired of this, but this featherweight division, ooh la la, this is cream of the crop when it comes to boxing. Let me remind you a couple of the names that are in this division. Isaac Dogboy's there. He's going to be tangoing with Robesi Ramirez sometime in May or June, I believe. That's going to be a heck of a fight. Still got Michael Conlan there, who presents a different style compared to all the other sluggers in this division. You got Kiko Martinez still around. He's always a good must-see TV. Josh Warrington likes punching power, but he comes forward. Lee Wood, we're going to talk about him later. Big power puncher. Luis Alberto Lopez, El Venado, another big puncher. Magsayo, big puncher. Ray Vargas, tall, lanky fighter. And Mauricio Lyra, power puncher all the way through. Fellas, this division. Oh, and now you got Figueroa in there. This division is jam-packed. Now, let's talk about that. Because now apparently Figueroa is going to be
before we talk about the division.
Yes.
Can I just before we go into the division, the featherweight division, I just want to make a comment and see what you guys think about it. The referee deducting points. Yes. I think that was a great call. This has to be, we have to see this more often in boxing. Somebody in the chat, and I also said that yesterday on Discord, that this is the type of referee that we need for a Devin Haney fight.
Absolutely.
What do you guys think about that? Like, we don't see that often anymore.
Right on the money there.
Well, I agree. I agree because if you want them early, you got to warn them and make sure your warnings are public, meaning you left the corners know, so the commission knows you gave them a warning. So if there's any question, like you gave it too soon, because it's usually 2 warnings and you take points. But yeah, you just let them know straight up, and like I liked how he said, I think it was the third or fourth, right in the beginning of the third or fourth round, the ref said, "Listen, cut the bullshit." When they were fucking around. So he was trying, you can control a fight as a ref without interjecting yourself into it. And I thought he did a decent job. I'm done.
I mean, he did a fantastic job taking those points away, man. Fantastic job. Butcher's right, man. Put this guy in there. They're not going to do it, but put this guy in there in the Devin Haney fight. See what happens. He talks and sounds like a cop, by the way. It's like, I think this guy's done a couple of traffic stops in his day. The way he's like, all right, stay right there. I'll be right back.
I know. He's definitely a cop, man. I also thought the same shit.
I'm gonna look into it. See if he's a police officer. I think that's also gonna piss off some fighters, and hopefully they don't go nuts because you know how it is in the streets. You tell them freeze and they charge at you. Hopefully it's not the same thing in the ring where they go stop clinching and then they clinch even more. That's all I'm saying. But we're gonna talk about more about that. But I just want to get to the matchup. It's the matchup for Figueroa, which is Rey Vargas. Apparently, again, there's some confusion there amongst boxing fans. People are going, well, wait a minute, Rey Vargas still a titleist? I thought he lost to O'Shaquie Foster. He lost at 130. Remember, he was going for his third division title. So now he's moving back down to 126, where he still has a title. And that's where the Figueroa fight is going to occur. So it should be. Well, what do you guys think about that? Is that a bad style matchup for Figueroa, or do you think he outworks?
No, I think Figueroa beats Vargas, and I think Matisse beats them all.
Matisse?
Oh, I mean, not Matisse, the fucking power puncher.
Oh, Lara.
He should have just won a couple of weeks. Lara. Yeah, I think he could. I don't know. Maybe, that's the fight I like to see. I'd like to see Lara and Figueroa. I'd have to look at it more before I make that announcement on who would win. But yeah, I think Figueroa would beat that big, tall, lanky dude. That dude ain't got a job, man. And I'm not saying that like figuratively speaking. I'm saying like figuratively, like when he sits there, like, dude's like Dilbert. He's got no chin at all.
Yeah, it's true, man. He's a weird-looking character, ghoulish, I dare say. But and Gonzalo, by the way, Gonzalo's not going to be able to make it today. He's got some business to take care of in the city. So shout out to Gonzalo. But Gonzalo did say something about Vargas in the last fight. It's like he shouldn't have gotten rid of Nacho Berenstein, that is, legendary trainer. And look, I don't know what happened between him and Nacho Berenstein. Maybe there was some legitimate gripe. I don't know. But the father, I mean, listen, I know you got to give credit to O'Shaquie Foster because of the way he shut down Vargas' game. But I didn't see many feints from Vargas. And he wasn't setting up his offense against O'Shaquie Foster. He was just running in and falling into a clinch. Running in, falling into a clinch. It's like, man, after a while, don't you understand that you got to re-gauge the distance a little bit there or recalibrate the distance in order to get this guy? So let's say it's a scenario of Nacho Berenstein not having enough time for him. All right, but at least keep him part-time. It's not going to be as bad as having your father, which, by the way, Nacho Berenstein is in his 80s, but he can still convey the instructions properly. Vargas' father, he looks elderly, man. He looks like Joe Biden in there. And I don't know how much, and I don't know how smart the guy is when it comes to boxing. So what do you guys think? Bad move ditching Nacho Berenstein? Or do you guys know what happened between Vargas and Berenstein?
I haven't heard, but usually that's when it's somebody, especially at his age, I'm sure he's not going to be a spry, obviously. So I'm sure he's very selective of his time. So maybe he didn't feel like he was getting enough of it. Who's to say? That's complete speculation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, Hassan Ahmed in the chat says that it's apparently it is something about not enough time. But like I said, okay, he doesn't have enough time, but maybe at least keep him in the corner or something. Don't get rid of him entirely. Because just the father is just as...
It's just more money, though, to spend.
But it's worth it, though.
You know what I mean? When it's payday, it's more money to split up.
I agree,
but too many trainers. I'm just saying that's probably one of the things. The reason why they wouldn't do that, because I'm sure he's not going to take a pay cut. He's been around too long. He's not his age. He ain't going to put up with that shit. This is what I get paid. You want me part-time, full-time, half the time, whatever. But I'm getting paid.
I agree, though, but it's worth the money, though, if you ask me. I mean, Nacho doesn't just take anybody to train. So and I mean, again, he got rid of him. Now he's only got the father. The father looks just as old as Nacho Berenstein and probably has half the knowledge of Nacho. So I don't know, man. It's just, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens.
I always like all the trainers, man. People try, he's old. He's like, who gives a shit, dude? That's a lifetime of, there's no school for this. You can't get that kind of knowledge. The knowledge burns, you know what I mean, that dude Nacho has. Kidding me?
Exactly. He's forgotten more.
You know what I mean? I'd be all over him.
He cannot be less knowledgeable than Vargas' father. So he should, I think he should have kept him. But anyway, listen, we're talking about Vargas, Figueroa. Figueroa probably, it won't be easy though, because Vargas, if he thought Magsayo was clinching, Vargas with those long ass arms of his is going to be liable to clinch as well. Plus, he's a better boxer than Magsayo. He's not as big a puncher, but he's a better boxer, so things could get complicated in there. I'd rather see Figueroa versus Lara, Figueroa versus Bernardo Lopez, but unfortunately those guys are on the other side of the street, so we won't get to see that anytime soon, I don't suppose. But what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, okay, so this whole thing with Magsayo doesn't end here, though. Sean Gibbons is Magsayo's manager. Now, Sean Gibbons really immerses himself in a lot of Mexican fighters and with a lot of Filipino fighters. I don't know how he gets them. But this is what he had a lot to say. He complained. He said, Magsayo fought in San Antonio and lost a very close disputed decision against Ray Vargas. And I thought he won, he said. What we saw tonight was pathetic. I agree. What we saw was pathetic. The clinching, the dropping to the ground, the stalling. That was pathetic. I agree with Sean Gibbons. Although he was talking about the scorecards and the point deductions, I'm talking about the clinching. But of course, I don't think old Sean Gibbons is going to talk about that. Which again, he should though, because man, this ruins boxing. Now I think I have video here. I didn't see the video. I just read the quotes. Let's see what we got here. Oh, Magsayo had something to say too as well. This is from it was from Fight Hub, the interview.
San Antonio fought his ass off, lost a very close dispute at which I thought he won. Here tonight was pathetic. I've never seen. You cannot, no matter.
I think he's. Imagine he's actually when he's saying pathetic, he's actually saying in code, talking about Magsayo's performance right in front of him. But let me see what Magsayo had to say.
Very wide. Yeah. I would imagine you felt it was a lot closer of a fight. Just what do you think overall of how the judges scored this fight based on how you fought?
For my performance, I did my best. I did my best in the ring. I think that was a close fight for me because this fight is like he just punched me in the inside.
All right, so he's saying at least he's admitting it's close because some guys they go, "Nah, man, I won the fight clearly. I got robbed." By the way, Magsayo's got a big chin. I just noticed he's got a bit. Look at how much of the frame it takes up. He looks like that chin guy from Tango and Cash. Remember the bad guy in Tango Cash with the big chin? Look at that. Don't tell me I'm crazy here.
He has a good chin. He has a lot of heart too, man, because he was fucking tired. He was completely tired. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he started throwing a combination, a bunch of punches, which was impressive. But at the same time, yeah, I gotta admit, it was, the holding and the stalling, and I don't like that shit.
Yeah, and I think Knucklehead Sean gets his them Filipino fighters through his connection to Pacquiao. You're connected with Pacquiao, you're gonna get guys tripping over themselves to be with you. Just anything to do with Pacquiao, because he's like a god over there amongst the boxing scene, obviously.
It's like the Al Heyman effect when he used to get all these black fighters to hit Mayweather. No, it's true. It's true. It's the same thing, man. But yeah, so Magsayo's unhappy with the decision, but again, he'll get more opportunities. I'm not sad for the guy. What else do we got here? Yeah, the connection for some reason there it's iffy. I'm a little trepidatious now every time I see
Jarrett Hurd. Oh,
yeah. See, there's a delay here because of the connection. I tested the fucking stream before I went on online, and it was crystal clear. Now all of a sudden it's giving me shit. But anyway, the other thing we had on the docket here last night, Armando Resendiz beating Jarrett Hurd. I'll just say one thing before I let you guys go on this. Resendiz fought a heck of a fight, obviously, but he was looking into the future in Hurd. That could be him in 5 years, man, if he doesn't, polish up on his defense. But what did you guys think of the fight? Resendiz stopping Jarrett Hurd in the 10th round.
Yeah, Hurd is just a shell of himself. He really is. There's always been question of his training. It's always been a thing that dogged him. He just never took a lot of stuff serious. I liked how he for the third time in a row, he came off his longest, time out of the ring. And it looked like it. It looked like a dude who just could not. See, when you take that long out of your ring, might only be 33 years old, right? But 33 is a big difference from 28. And the last time you fought like a professional boxer 3 times a year was 6 years ago. I mean, you fought twice in the last 4 years, if that. So it's like, yeah, you look like a part-time boxer against a kid who's fresher. And I thought the stoppage was ridiculous. I've never seen somebody stop for a cut lip. But then again, Hurd wasn't complaining. He kind of opened up his, look at it, it's pretty bad, right? The fight was beat out of him by then. He just didn't want to say nothing. But he wasn't complaining. He didn't go, no. He didn't say no because the ref said, when the doctor looked, the ref said, stop it. He didn't say, no, what are you doing? Like, he didn't walk over and say, I can fight. Like before, like you would tell the doctor, before he would look, say, I'm fine. It's a cut lip. Nothing. He walked right over. So I think he was happy with that stoppage, but I still think it's a bad precedent when doctors start stopping fights because you got a cut lip. And I don't give a fuck how much meat's hanging. That shit stitches up easy.
Yeah, you want to
what was Jarrett Hurd's biggest win? What was his biggest win again? What was the win that propelled
Julian Jackson?
Right.
And over Esther Lara too, when he beat out Lara.
Yeah, Lara, yeah. Okay,
yeah, that was probably his biggest one.
For those who have been on the channel for a long time, you guys remember Low Blaze, who used to be on the show, and he used to be pretty big on Jarrett Hurd. He was saying that this guy was going to beat even the Charles, I believe. He was going to move up to middleweight. He was going to stop Canelo or at least beat him, I remember. And I'm just wondering what happened to Jarrett Hurd. Do you guys know why is it something outside the ring? Was it the PBC? Maybe not giving him enough fights or not doing a good job with his career, his managers, I should say. What do you think?
Butcher, I've said this before, man. He relied too much on his size and gave too many shots away, clean shots. I remember when he was coming up and fighting lower level opposition back in the early 2010s. Steve Kim wrote an article on the guy, said, he looks like James Toney in there. And I remember looking at him saying, yeah, he kind of does look. I thought he was going to be a good defensive fighter. Then came the Jojo Dan fight. And he's taking flush shots. Tony Harrison, flush shots. Austin Trout, flush shots. Erislandy Lara, flush shots. He's walking them down. Yeah, he's stopping them, but he was relying on his size. It's almost like he said, fuck this. I'm just going to take the flush shots and then overwhelm them with my stamina and my size. But that type of fighting, you can only sustain it for so long. And then on top of that, you got to keep in mind, if that's how he fights, that's how he's training. And getting hit like that with headgear, the headgear protects you a little bit more, so from cuts and all that. So he probably felt more comfortable taking those type of shots in the ring. I mean, in the sparring. So that affects his performances. His last great performance, believe it or not, was when he fought Julian Williams. Even though he lost, he still showed that incredible stamina in there. It's just that Julian Williams was very well prepared. But that was another fight where he took way too many shots. The Francisco Santana fight later, when he got that win, that was another fight where he took a lot of shots, but he pulled off the win. But he looked past it by then. Against Luis Arias, he looked way past it. And then last night, it is what it is, Bucho. It's you can't take you can't have those type of fights and then just expect to have a be free of consequence.
And like Jimmy said, exactly. And what Jimmy said, 33 years old. There's a difference between 28 years old and 33 in a sport like boxing, where a slight edge can give you the victory, basically. And 5 years is a lot. And I don't understand. It seems now, because of certain fighters that have prolonged their career until their late 30s, people are starting to make this as a standard in boxing. It's not a standard. I mean, we have some exceptions now, maybe PEDs or whatever, but for the most part, 33 is an old fucking boxer at that point. It's always been that case. It's gonna remain the norm. 33 is you're getting old, especially if you're like Jarrett Hurd, who's apparently not taking it seriously and not fighting often.
Now, but Jimmy, do you like this Resendiz? You gotta give him credit. He's built like a block, like a shit house, a brick shit house. He's strong and all that. But I mean, I think Jarrett Hurd from 5 years ago would have beaten him. Am I wrong here, or?
Yeah, probably. But that kid come down from 168, so he's a bigger kid too. Hurd's not used to taking those bigger kid punches. That's it. So. Yeah, I don't think that kid would have made 154 then, but who knows? Because he's, like you said, very muscular.
You know what, though?
But he does take a lot of fucking punches. There's not a lot of skill involved there. It's just toughness. He toughs it out.
Right.
But it's time for her to piss on the fire and call a dog.
They fought at 160, so what I was saying was if they would have met at 165 years ago, for whatever reason. I think Jarrett Hurd would have been able to outwork this guy. But it's just last night.
Oh, prime Jarrett Hurd. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And, but it's interesting, man, because Resendiz, like I said, Resendiz showed a lot of good things in there. I think it was his first fight with Manny Robles. So if Robles can actually get him on point, again, this guy's young. He's only 24. So if he can tweak his defense and all that, he's going to be good. But he should really look at Jarrett Hurd and think, oh boy, I could be him in 5 years if I don't, if I just keep fighting like a maniac. And that's the other thing, though. How many times do we tell people, okay, be entertaining, but you can be an entertaining fighter while having good defense? I mean, look at a guy like Chocolatito, look at a guy like Golovkin, Estrada. Juan Francisco Estrada is an entertaining fighter, but he uses his legs and good defense. You don't have to be a retard in there. And I hate to say it, but that's how Jarrett Hurd was fighting for the last 5 years. He was just barging in with his head forward, boom, boom, taking shots. Yeah, every once in a while he'd do the shoulder roll and all that. But you cannot do that. So there's a middle ground here, fellas. For all those people that think, because again, sometimes you bring that up to certain people and you go, this guy could be a little more entertaining. Oh, you want him to fight like fucking Arturo Gatti? It's like, no. But you can go a little bit more on the offense while staying defensively responsible. And people are going to love you for it. And you're going to have a long career. But this Jarrett Hurd, it's listen, I don't feel bad for the guy, but because he chose to fight that way, he fought on TV a bunch of times, so he probably made some good money. But it is what it is, man. This is a warning tale for a cautionary tale, I should say, for everybody out there, all those young boxers. Yes, be careful, man. You're the bigger guy, okay.
Was it me? Didn't he almost seem uninspired? Like he, you know what I mean? Like he was going through the motions. I don't think he loves the sport anymore. Again, that's my opinion. I don't have nobody told me that. Like you said, you go back to his prime fights and just look the way he moved in there to last night. He looked confused. But again, it's not, you can't play boxing. You can't be a part-time professional boxer. I mean, that's what Jarrett Hurd was, man. Fighting that infrequently, because then you find out during the fight that your body doesn't do what your mind's telling it to do. It's that split-second lag, and it's scary. When you're in there, you're like, wow, my body just isn't reacting. It's not just boxing, all sports, all athletes deal with it. It's a scary thing when it happens in boxing, especially because you're getting punched in the face.
Exactly, Jimmy, exactly. And that's always how Jarrett Hurd fought in his biggest fights. He would start off slow. The other guys would be able to hit him flush in the face. But if he would just keep coming, he would turn it on in the middle rounds and then just overwhelm his opposition later on. But you saw in the Luis Arias fight, he couldn't do that. And then last night as well, he tried turning it up in round 4 or 5, and it just wasn't happening. And I think you could tell he realized that. I actually thought he got stunned in the 8th round, I believe, near the end of one of those late rounds.
Yeah, he did.
And I said, "Oh boy!"
Yeah, he did.
When you're back,
and you hit the nail on the head. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say when Jarrett Hurd is backing up, that's bad news right there.
Yeah, but I think you nailed the head. If anything epitomizes his career, is I think he was able to get down to 154, and he was huge for 154, and I think that played a big role in his style and how he was able to overcome those guys. He was just so much bigger. He was never going to be as good at 160 or 168 because a lot of his victory was due to his size. A lot of his attributes was his size.
I'm sharing the screen here. And I remember because we were on the air when we covered this fight. Lara versus Jarrett Hurd. Look at the size difference here between them. I mean, for Pete's sakes, this guy.
That's crazy.
It's like a cruiserweight in there compared to Lara. It's insane. This guy was making 154, if you can believe it. And man, his last great performance was the Julian Williams fight. Even though he just lost to a better man that night. But eventually everything caught up with him, or to him rather. And you know what's going to be a shame too with
Williams is fighting again too.
Yeah, he's going to be fighting Adames. Oh boy, he's going to probably get sparked in that fight. Although you never know. But I just wanted to say one last thing.
Finish up what you're saying.
One last thing about Jarrett Hurd. They could have easily put him in against one of the Charlos back in 2018. But they didn't. They chose to put him in a recycled Julian Williams. They thought he was going to be able to win that fight. What happened? Why didn't they make the Charlo fights? Those were big fights, undefeated guys, momentum on the line. They didn't do it. But what were you going to say, Jimmy, about... You were going to say something.
Oh, no, yeah, but it wasn't about Hurd. I was going to make a comment about Brian Custer talking up the future fights. It was just the way he mentioned, and we're going to have, and he went down the list of everybody who's not on the latest, we're going to have Thurman will be fighting. But yeah, he said Spence said he's coming back and look for him to be in a big fight, and Thurman will be fighting this summer. And then he said Danny Garcia, and he said all the guys who haven't been announced. But I think that Thurman fight with Spence, I don't know, maybe because he saw the backlash, he saw so much backlash about that Thurman fight that he realized, I know he would have got, a lot of people would have just straight boycotted that. It's very important, no matter what pay-per-view he does next, if it isn't Crawford, it's not going to do well. It's going to be, a lot of people are going to be punished him, but if they do bother watching it, they're going to steal it. Like, I won't buy his next pay-per-view. I don't give a fuck who he fights. If he doesn't fight Crawford next, I'll never buy another Spence fight as long as I live. No way.
How dare you?
I just wouldn't. But if he fights Crawford, I'll buy it. I wouldn't steal the thing.
There you go. Hey, speaking of stealing, last night's card with Showtime, long story short, there's an application that I pay for here in Canada. It's called TSN, which is the ESPN equivalent. The thing is, since we don't have ESPN here and we don't have Showtime, I don't know, man. I tested this shit. I'm telling you, I tested it before. Everything was hunky-dory. Then all of a sudden I go on the air and whoopsie daisy.
I believe you. The last thing I heard you say was we have the ESPN, which shows ESPN and Showtime fights, and that was it.
Okay.
That was where I stopped hearing you from.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know how long you went on after that, but...
No, I stopped when I saw that the internet went out. I said, fuck this, I'm not going to keep rambling by myself. What I was going to say was that we got that application that offers you those fights. The TSN app offers you Showtime and ESPN. Well, guess what? They didn't show the Oshaki Foster fight. They didn't show... What was the last Showtime card before this one? There was another one. What was it? Was it last week? What was it?
Yeah, it was last week, wasn't it? It was Showbox New Generation last week too, I believe.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, that's the thing though. They used to show Showbox as well. I looked at the schedule. First of all, they didn't show the last night's fight. Here we go. Fuck. I think it's... Yes. Thank you. Okay,
so 2 weeks ago.
So they didn't show that fight. They didn't show last night's fight. And I looked at the schedule. They don't have any Showtime fights scheduled, even though the schedule just got released from Showtime. That they're going to have about 7 cards. So I'm thinking either they haven't updated the list on TSN, or they're choosing to forego buying those fights because they know it's the last hurrah. I don't know. It's just weird that for the past 2 years I was able to watch the Showtime fights there, and all of a sudden they're not offering them on it anymore. Weird. That's all I want to say.
That's strange that they're not offering them, especially if they always did before.
I'll keep an eye out for it. See if maybe they're just waiting to see if the schedule gets finalized or something. But it's again, no Matias fight, no Oshaki Foster fight, no Figueroa versus Magsayo fight, and then none of the other fights are on the schedule in that application. That's just weird, man. It's weird. Hopefully, it doesn't mean the end of them showing these fights. But if these Showtime fighters go to another promotional outfit, then okay, we'll keep getting them on that TSN app. Just real quick, the other card here that we saw, the other fight on the card was Elijah Garcia, 19 years old, stopping another undefeated fighter, although older, mind you, Amilcar Vidal in the 4th round. That was a good fight, man. I was getting, Jimmy, I don't know if you saw it, I was getting Fernando Vargas vibes from Garcia. A little bit. Not comparing to Fernando Vargas 100%.
That was the best fight of the night. Like, I was impressed by that 19-year-old kid for that age to show that kind of dedication to the body and just overall fighting skills at 19. I mean, but he's not a young 19 when you're married with 2 children at 19. You know, he's like a throwback in the 1950s.
Yeah, what's that about? At 19, he's already got 2 kids. This ain't the 19. I would tell the guy, this ain't the 1940s, man. You gotta wait a little bit.
I mean, good on him. He married the girl that got pregnant. He had a baby at 16. He stepped up and married her, you know, instead of just like leaving damaged children being dragged around with a bunch of baby mamas. He did the right thing and married her.
That's a good point. This was in the middleweight division, 19 years old. I mean, there's a lot of room for development there, obviously. 19, he got banged up a little bit. He was bleeding from the nose, but hey, he pulled it out. You can't buy heart. And that's what he showed last night. So, gonna keep an eye on this fella. Gonna keep an eye on this fella.
And yeah, 19 years old, first time on television. I think he made a statement for himself. I'm looking forward to him. I don't know if he's a Heyman fighter, although Watson was standing behind him at the end at the interview.
Yeah, I think
he was a Heyman fighter.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Did you just catch that? Because he thanked my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but he didn't say thank you to Al Heyman. And that doesn't happen. That's the whole reason Watson's there behind them, because he leans in and tells them to make sure you thank Al Heyman. Unless I missed it, I didn't hear him thank Al Heyman. So that tells me that maybe, you know, Watson didn't want him to go too far because he probably wanted to say, hey, let's talk. So you want to take a deal, blah, 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 because I'm sure they want to get him under contract now.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a good point. I don't know. We'll see what happens with him. He's a young kid. Now, one thing that we haven't talked about too much on this show, we've been on sporadically, but there's the whole Conor Benn situation. The WBC absolved him, apparently, but he's still got business with the BBOC, the British Board of Boxing, whatever it's called. Jimmy, Conor Benn said something that I loathe. He gave out a statement on Twitter and he said, my statement, my truth. I hate when people say that, my truth. Why don't you just say the truth? It seems it's like a cop-out. Well, what do you think about that?
Because they're not telling the truth. When someone says my truth, to me right away, I think they're lying, or they know they're lying or giving misinformation. My truth. No, like you said, Mr. BDA, there's no such thing. There's the truth. That's it. There's your version of the truth. Your version of what, you know, the truth will be to make you feel good about yourself. But there's only one truth. Again, it's just more language being promulgated from, you know, the most unimpressive people in history, professors, university professors, who never have to actually work for a living. Oh. So, you know, they don't worry about an actual economy. That's what it comes down to be honest with you. That's why they can all be communists, because they don't actually have to worry about earning or creating anything or being held to a standard. Once they get tenure, they can't be fired.
And they get the same vacations that kids get. Fucking 2 months vacation during the summer, man. But listen,
professional school time.
Exactly, man. But I wanted to ask you. Okay, so Conor Benn, man, he's blaming eggs, an overconsumption of eggs for the. Let me just look up what he tested positive for. But is that possible there, Jimmy? You know more about this than all of us. Jimmy, did you hear my question?
Oh, yeah, no, I was talking away like an asshole when I'm mute. I responded. I had everything ready to go. I was on mute, but sorry about that. But, yeah, no, I have never heard of anything like that. I mean, there's certain foods that are going to mimic things, but I don't know exactly. What was he tested positive for? Was it an anabolic steroid? Was it an androgenic steroid? Was it a diet, something to cut weight? What exactly did he test positive for? And I can tell you right away if I knew what it was, if eggs would have anything to do with that.
It's called clomiphene.
So I think that kicks your nuts back on. That's usually something you take at the end of a fucking cycle. If I remember, I know Clomid. That's what you take at the end of a steroid cycle to turn your nuts back on. When I say turn your nuts back on, I mean have your body produce its own testosterone. Because when you get off steroids, especially androgen steroids, would replicate testosterone in the human body. Your body doesn't produce it. Why should it? When you get an extra, your body produces a healthy male up to 7 milligrams a day. When you could be taking, I mean, you could take as much as you want, but what happens, it's like, why should your body produce it? It's just not necessary, so it stops. So it doesn't just turn on by itself. So there's certain drugs you can take to help that, and Clomid's one. So I don't know if that drug you just said is in the same family, but if it is, no, well, eggs has nothing to do with that.
It says that it's a female infertility drug. It's used to induce ovulation in women who do not produce ova, but wish to become pregnant. So it's an infertility drug for women, essentially.
Huh. Yeah, it sounds like something to do with, it sounds like something to do with the hormones, clearly. So I would say, he was trying to turn his nuts back on. Probably took steroids and was taking his... Listen, I think most of those guys are fucking around on something. You know, it's so hard to say, but I mean, there's some telltale signs that we talked about here on this channel about, you know, bitch tit and whatnot. And I don't know. I mean, he's got round muscle bellies. He's pretty jacked up. Some guys, the problem with steroids, man, it's the mental addiction. They get mentally addicted. And if they've been fighting at any time in their career on steroids, it's a very hard drug to perform off it, especially if you credit something like in your head, like, you and your team know you're on juice, and like you did real good. You blew somebody out of there. You felt powerful and strong. You recuperating very good and very fast. And then all of a sudden you're off it. Now you're always questioning yourself, and it's in the back of your head, and some guys just can't handle it.
Yeah, that must be hell, man. Like me, I'm all natural, man. People all come up to me and say, hey, what are you cycling on? What's your stack? I go, no stack, my friend. Puro naturalito over here. But they can handle it. But I can't imagine what it must be like for other people, Jimmy. I really can't, man. But hey, listen. With Conor Benn, the WBC is absolving him. And they're saying, it was the eggs. I mean, that's just, to me, it just reeks of them knowing that he could be a big star in England and just salivating over those sanctioning fees. Am I wrong here?
Of course you're not wrong. You're 100% on the money. If that dude was 22-2 with 2 losses, his purses were around $100,000, they would have blasted him out like that. Get out of here, you fucking drug cheat. Wait a minute, we can make real money on this kid? I think he's probably clean. I mean, they did the same thing with Canelo. Not to bring up the Canelo thing, but remember, I mean, before they even had an investigation, remember? They just absolved him of all things. You know what I mean? We feel that, it was something along the lines of his character. We don't feel in his, like, wow. I understand you're upset. I mean, not upset. You're nervous that he's going to, because remember, Canelo dumped the WBC belt. And even after he dumped it, he wanted nothing to do with them. It took him a while to get back in Canelo's good graces. And when you're the face of boxing and your name pulls in the most money, of course, Suleiman wants a piece of that. He might hate Canelo's guts, but he wants some of that Canelo slice like everybody else.
That's right.
So of course it's motivated by money. Of course it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wants his taste, like they do. You give a guy an envelope, you got to give him a little taste too. But now here's the thing. This might give us an indication of why the WBC is clearing him, because Sean Gibbons had a lot to say last night. He was there for the Magsayo fight. He also manages Manny Pacquiao. Well, guess what? They're talking about a potential Conor Benn versus Manny Pacquiao fight. And this is what he had to say, Sean Gibbons, about it. He says, all I can say is it's confusing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's confusing. It's also confusing. I don't know what's going on. And he says, I don't know about the 270-page report. I don't know about the eggs, whatever. But I know the man was cleared, and I got to give the benefit of the doubt because I had a fighter who went through the same thing. So he's saying, I don't know about anything, but I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's essentially what he's saying, because, of course, it could be big money for his client, Manny Pacquiao. And here's the other thing. He says the man was cleared. No, he hasn't been cleared. He got cleared by the WBC, which is just one of many sanctioning organizations. And then there's still the British Boxing Board of Control. So, Jimmy, it seems like business as usual here for boxing.
Yep. Another black guy. It gets like, stop pretending. Why don't you just put out a press release? We will suspend anybody who's been tested dirty for steroids unless you make 6 figures or more on your purse, and then we'll talk. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, just call it like it is. It's all corruption. I mean, they showed their true colors, how they handled. They were ready to fucking push that, Thurman as the mandatory at 154 for a 147-pound belt. That is just so disgusting. That tells you exactly what kind of organization they are. And listen, the old man, Suleiman's old man, this Junior is he's terrible. I know the old man, people would say he was corrupt and shit with his relationship with Don King and whatnot, but I don't remember it this bad. But then again, most things in boxing, I don't remember it this bad.
Well, terrible news that I heard. Somebody said on the Discord that I think Sonny Edwards, who's a heck of a fighter, by the way, starting to sound like Floyd Mayweather here. Heck of a fighter. But anyway, he's a good fighter in the lower weights over there. Very slick, dare I say. He just said the IBO is a good belt. Now, the IBO has been trying hard as they could for the past, since they've been around. I think they've been around for 20-something years because of their computer ratings. That's how they tell people that they stand out. Already, so the best because they're computerized. No human bias. But you need a little human bias in there, first of all. In any event, the IBO. So what? 5 belts now is what we're going to have? Not including the baby belts that come with the WBC, WBA. I mean, it's getting ridiculous over here. The WBO shouldn't even be counted. How about that?
Yeah, I don't mind the WBO. I don't mind 4 belts. I don't mind a lot of belts. I mean, screw it. I would rather take a lot of belts that make the fights, to make good fights, because that's how, I would judge them. I'm just so disgusted with the WBC because, again, the green belt, since it came on, I believe in 1963, it's emerged as, because Muhammad Ali made a big deal about the green belt. I think that's when him making a big deal really helped. Obviously, it's Muhammad Ali. So, but yeah, so that's always been kind of like the prestigious belt. So it just kind of sucks to see it, basically become the best little whorehouse in Texas type thing, although they're out of Mexico.
That's right.
I think there's only one sanctioning body out of the United States. Isn't that the IBF?
That's right. Yeah, it's one of the newest ones.
Yep.
One of the most recent.
The rest are all either Mexico, one's overseas somewhere.
They're all a bunch of
places where the U.S. government can't touch them.
Exactly, yeah, the Bahamas. Listen, they're a bunch of sleazeballs. That's why listen. I know you're not supposed to do this in life, either or, but that's what I've chosen to do with the sanctioning bodies. It's either or. Either they count or they don't count. And to me, they don't count at all. How about that? Now, I mentioned Conor Benn versus Manny Pacquiao. That's just one thing. By the way, yeah, the open lines, I'm working on the phone lines, but it's just because we were having a rocky internet connection. So I don't want to open them yet, because then if I open them, that they close down, then I got to reopen them. It's a mess. Let's just wait, see how the connection stays, and then we'll open up the phone lines. I promise. But before we do that, yes.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, finish what you were saying. I'll come back.
Well, because we were talking about Conor versus Manny Pacquiao, which is just one fight that's being considered. Another fight that's being considered for Conor Benn as a comeback is our old friend Adrian Broner. One of the Matchroom representatives says that that's a fight that they're interested in. But Jimmy, here's my thing with that. First of all, Conor Benn is in a lose-lose situation. If he takes on Pacquiao, however the ruling goes with his steroid case or PD case, he looks bad coming back against an old man who didn't look all that hot against Ugas and who's 45 years old. Then if he comes back against Broner, the same thing. So people are going to criticize him for the PD test. People are going to criticize him for his comeback fight. What should he do?
Stay the fuck away from Pacquiao, because that's a cash grab. That's all that is. He's just there for a big check. It's like, earn it. I mean, speaking of big checks, can I just add something about? Did you see the reports that the Fury fucking Paul fight pulled 775,000 pay-per-views?
Yes. Now, is that bad or is that good, considering he's supposed to be a mainstream star?
I mean, considering Tommy Fury, prior to that fight, what did he do? I mean, what was his? He didn't even make $100,000 his fight before that, and nobody in the United States would watch him. It just goes to show you the power, the drawing power Paul has, the celebrity that kid has. I mean, and his fans followed him. That's the big question. Will that same thing happen with Ryan Garcia? He has a big following, nothing like Jake Paul. But when you have 23 million followers on YouTube, you can turn that into a lot of money if you chose to do certain things. And he did that, and they obviously followed him. But Tommy Fury, I think, good for him, because I don't think he'll never, ever come close to that kind of money, $7 million. I don't think he even has the skills to become a British, Isles champion, a domestic level champion. And that's kind of funny. Did you see what he tweeted out the next day? The picture he sent out? It's like, God damn, that dude is such a cornball, man. You see the picture with him with a big titty in his mouth? He was sucking on some chick's tit while she was tweezing his eyebrows. Remember I said he should stick to tweezing his eyebrows?
Right.
Remember I said that the last show? Sure enough, the next day he tweets out he's got a fucking titty in his mouth, like fully engulfed in his mouth as she's tweezing his eyebrows.
All right, now I want the BDA army out there. I want you guys, ourselves, we got cells all over the place. Find out whose tit that was. We need to find out whose tit that was, and we need to make a proper determination. And
nice titties.
Of the tit. Hey, listen, I'm a tit guy too, man. Why not? I want to see who those tits belong to.
Yeah, she had a nice rack. But I mean, is that his girlfriend? Is that the kind of respect he shows his woman? They would put put that out there. Class. I mean,
he's a guy that puts everything out there, man. That's his shtick. But the thing about it is, 775. The reason why I asked whether that was good or bad is because people were saying that everyone was talking about it. Everyone. So if Jake Paul's a mainstream star, I mean, look, compared to a boxer, 775,000. That's these fucking guys nowadays. These boxers, they're popping open the champagne bottles when they get 300,000 pay-per-view buys. So 775,000. That's very good, but I wasn't sure whether a guy like Jake Paul, who is a mainstream star, should have done more than that. But you're saying those are good numbers. I'll go with it. Because again, it's
I would definitely say, especially his last fight didn't do shit, all right? Didn't his last pay-per-view bomb?
I think so, right? Yeah, I think they
didn't even release it, if I remember correctly. They didn't release the numbers. But yeah, I think it bombed. So this was a big fight for him. And think about it, like you just said, they say Davis is a superstar. He's a pay-per-view star selling 200,000. So fucking Jake Paul is the fucking man in boxing. And I mean, think about it. It's a big payday for anybody who's willing to fight. People saying, from what I've been able to read so far, that Jake Paul isn't giving it up. He still wants to fight. Which, to me, if you take a loss, that tells you right there if this kid seriously wants to be a boxer. Now he took a loss. Now he's not going to get the pay-per-views that shines off the fucking diamond. So it's going to go back to, if he wants to be a boxer, to start maybe like being on a Showtime card, on an undercard, like try to do it then. Fight guys around the same level as you or whatnot. Let's see if that goes forward. But if he quits, then we know what it was all about. He fought until his first loss and then bailed. So it was always just a fucking game.
You know what, man? I'll say this about this whole situation. A lot of people are saying Jake Paul got exposed. I remember after the fight on Twitter, people, Jake Paul got exposed. Like, well, you knew he wasn't a boxer. If anybody got exposed, was Tommy Fury. Because the best opponent he fought was some redhead, Tommy Fury. And he looked bad in that fight. He was catching flush shots on the face. He wasn't throwing that many shots. He's not a good offensive fighter. This guy will not touch it. Like you said, he's not going to touch one of those continental local titles. It's not going to happen. He got exposed too against the guy that's not even a professional boxer. He's got good footwork. That's about it.
Yeah, of course he got exposed on that. I mean, he's a YouTuber. Well, put it this way. Just go by his own father, John, the illiterate dude standards.
Jimmy, what? Sorry, because I my connection's cutting off. I said Tommy Fury got exposed too.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. I said, no, you're 100% right.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought. That's what I was talking about. Fury got exposed. Yeah, I know. I agree 100% with you. Fury got totally exposed. I agree with you. Yeah, because he was the professional boxer. And remember his father, John, said, if my son doesn't knock him out, knock that YouTuber out, I'll personally take him out of boxing, or I'll stay away from boxing or whatever. He made something along those lines. So, yeah, obviously he's not going to do that. What about, I got to say, too, man, going on fucking Twitter, speaking of Fury, going on to Twitter and putting out that video saying you owe us $1 million because, you made a side bet. Like, dude, are you kidding me? You fuck. What, the $7 million off Paul's name enough? What wasn't enough? What did your son make prior to Jake Paul? Did he even crack 100,000 pounds or whatever they paid him? Whether it was pounds or dollars at the time?
But here's the main issue. Here's the main issue with that. If you look at the press conference, Jake Paul's the one that brought it up. And Tommy Fury was ambivalent. He's like, he's not answering. It's John Fury, the guy who accepts the bet. And when he says it's done, You can see Tommy Fury look back at him like, what the fuck are you doing? Then a video came out which shows that they wanted to put it on paper. The polls wanted to put that side bet on paper, said, let's put it on a contract. John Fury didn't want to. So what I'm thinking happened was Tommy Fury probably went up to his father and said, hey, listen, I don't know about it. Like, he probably seemed doubtful about it. And so that's why they didn't want to sign the contract. So if now they're demanding the money on a handshake bet, but then why didn't they want to sign the contract if they were so confident? It's a perfect ploy. It was a perfect ploy. It's let's not put it on paper in case we lose, but we did do the handshake, so now we can demand the money. I don't know. It's very sneaky, man. Very sneaky and very weaselly, if you ask me.
I agree, and the $7 million wasn't enough. It's like, get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah, the logical place to go for those two is a rematch, because Jake Paul against anybody else, unless they put him in there against like a Masvidal maybe, or a Nick Diaz, maybe that could sell. But I don't know. I think the gravy trains, they need to retool before they can put that gravy train back on the road. Here's the other thing though that I wanted to bring up, and then Jimmy, I'm gonna have to ask you to take over because I gotta go to the piss room, as I like to call it now. Davis Garcia. That's Tank Davis is Ryan Garcia. Press conference is going to be, the first press conference is going to be taking place this Wednesday and Thursday, I believe. And around that time, the tickets will go on sale. Now, some people are panicking, or still skeptical rather, about the fight occurring, because they're saying that the tickets are going to go on sale, but there's no venue date. There's no venue announced yet. And Espinoza, his usual lawyer self, is being very ambiguous about where it's going to be. He says, we got a bunch of possibilities. Jimmy, is it possible that they're going to announce it this week or right before the press conference? Because they have to, right? They can't fucking hold an event without a fucking venue.
Oh, yeah, they need to do a press conference. Oh, of course, because it's not just people who buy the tickets. You have to do that for the ticket agencies. They have to get their, ducks in a row. They have, certain... Every ticket agency has whales that they like to get, in advance. You don't want to just spring that on people. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. Is the fight still supposed to happen on May, 15th or April 15th or something? No, it's going to be May, right?
No. It's going to be April. May? It's going to be about late April, and the first press conference is this Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That isn't much time at all. That's less than, it's about 2 months away, right? Because we're in early March, so 8-week camps, plus they're going to take time off for the promotion, so, yeah, the fact that there's a venue, though, that sucks. That really sucks. That's going to hurt the ticket sales, because people have to take time out of work, and wherever it is, if it's in Vegas, they're going to have to fly there, so the longer they wait to announce, it's just weird. The fact that they have a solid date, and they're actually doing press conferences, and they don't have a fucking venue, that's surprising to me. Like, why they don't have the check to secure the place or something? I don't know what's going on. That just doesn't make sense, like you said. But not much makes sense when it comes to that organization.
My thing is, they're probably going to announce the venue this week. They have to. They can't fucking do the press conference and then not say where it's going to be. It's going to look ridiculous. So they're probably going to finalize whatever deal they've got this week, and then we've got the press conferences. The other thing about it, Jimmy, is that Espinosa said that this fight doesn't need much promotion because it's all going to be done on TikTok. So it seems like they're really angling for the Zoomer crowd and online, what am I calling it here? PR, public relations on the internet, marketing rather. It seems like they don't want to put too much money on traditional, or maybe they don't have money. What do you think? Because promotion is not cheap, right? If they want to go around radio stations and all that.
Oh, yeah, no. Think about this. What did they spend on, what did Bob say he spent on the second Fury fight? The second Wilder Fury fight? They said they spent millions of dollars on promoting and that. Because it was on ESPN, buying ad space on ESPN and whatnot. So, yeah, they got to pay for that. So, promoting a fight costs a lot of money, especially when, if they're doing, promotions with like press conferences and, fighter open workouts where you want fans to be able to show up. Like Canelo's last fight with Triple G, there was over 10,000 people there showed up for his open workout in Vegas.
It's a lot of people, man. It's a lot of people, but yeah.
Crazy. The place was a zoo, and it was hot. Yeah, he pulls them out. They show up.
There you go, man. I mean, yeah, it's. We'll see what happens with those. All right, listen, I got to go to the piss room. Jimmy, I'm going to leave you with a subject that I know you like to talk about.
Okay.
Terence Crawford is apparently they're negotiating the Alexis Rocha fight, and then on Twitter, out of nowhere, Errol Spence puts a GIF of a couple of black guys in a truck. It's like a slow motion. I don't know from which movie it is. It's from a movie, I think, or a music video. On a truck, and they've got ski masks on, and like they're circling the block, which in urban parlance I think means they're looking for somebody, right? Talk about that. Why is Errol Spence all of a sudden every time Crawford announces a fight, why does Errol Spence all of a sudden come out with this type of inflammatory messages? Like he wants to fight.
Right. I'd say, well, in the past, looking back how things turned out, because remember, they announced the Thurman fight. That was announced through some of the PBC's, compliant media. It's a done deal. That fight's happening with Thurman at 154. I mean, they were saying it. And I think that obviously the people involved were saying, no, this fight ain't going to sell. This thing is going to do nothing. And I think, honestly, I think the reason a lot of the big names, if you notice, all the big names, PBC big names, aren't on this upcoming schedule because the big name guys obviously going to want more money, the money they've been paid in the past. I just think with the reshuffling and the restructuring of Showtime, the money's not the same. And I think what happened, and I'm not saying it was just Spence, I think it was probably Thurman too, because he's always been a guy about the money. That's always his first response. The money's got to be right. The money's got to be right. So I don't think the same money is being thrown around over there. I don't think. And another thing that showed that about the money situation at the PBC, the fact that all of Spence's opponents have been offered a guaranteed. It was a guarantee. Even Ugas had a guaranteed purse. They had a guaranteed X amount of dollars, regardless of what the pay-per-view sold. They weren't offering Crawford or Spence too, because Spence said, "Hey, they didn't offer me one." But they didn't offer those guys up guaranteed money. For a 4-belt unification fight, no guaranteed money. That doesn't make you think that they're rolling in the cash. There's a reason for that. I don't think they had the money to guarantee any kind of big money, which surprises me. They couldn't secure the money. They couldn't have went through an outside source. You would have thought there would have been someone willing to put up the cash. The Saudis or somebody that willing to put up the money for that fight. And although I believe Crawford said he had somebody, willing to put up the money, but the PBC side shat all over it, saying, "Nah, we're good." So I don't know. I mean, he puts out these nebulous things like that with cruising the block and shit. Just shut up and say it, because now at this point, I know it's a boxing show, and it sounds odd coming from someone on a boxing show. I personally don't give a fuck about that fight anymore at all. I'm so over it. I am so over it. That shit 4 years past its due date. I mean, now you're talking about, we were talking, everybody was talking hard Crawford Spence 5 fucking years ago. I mean, this is just ridiculous. It becomes... at some point, you feel like the sport just keeps fucking slapping you in the face. You turn the cheek, it slaps the other side. And, and then they turn around and give you not what you're asking for. And then they rub salt in the wounds. They put it on a fucking pay-per-view or behind a paywall. You can only abuse people so long, and eventually they had enough. And the thing is, with most abused relationships, once the person's out of a relationship, they usually grow to hate their abuser. Meaning, once you lose a boxing fan, you're never going to get them back. Once most boxing fans, I'm sure everybody listening right now has had something one time in their life that they were really into, and now they can't even, stand it because something happened, or even a girl they might have had strong feelings for. Now they hate her guts because of shit that transpired. It gets to that point, and that's what sucks with boxing. I'm afraid when they're going to abuse enough people long enough that when people walk away, there's not going to be a fight that's going to be able to pull them back in. Like, yeah, I haven't been fucking with boxing, but that's a good fight. I'm going to get it. I think it's going to get to the point where I don't give a fuck who's fighting. Fuck that sport. Like, people will stop wanting it to fall apart. So that's just my opinion.
When boxing fans start saying we're tired of it, that means there's a problem. because boxing fans are used to, for the past 15, 20 years, we've been conditioned to, all right, it's boxing. Whenever something bad happens, like, it's boxing, what do you expect? This should be concerning for the people at the top, that the fact that people are saying, fuck those two guys, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, we don't want to see that fight. But you know what? There's a big problem too with the fans. It's always a problem with the fans. I wanna point out how some fans, and the problem with fanboys, it's always been there, but I just want to give you a clear example of what we mean by fanboys. And I'm not talking about this guy. I want to talk about the guy who replied to this fella here. So this fella first started out by saying, he put the Showtime schedule, and he said, so Terence Crawford was supposed to wait 19 months before fighting Errol Spence and just stay inactive? Better question, why isn't Errol Spence scheduled to fight? What's really going on here? All I ask for is consistency to people who call themselves boxing fans. Because again, the Showtime schedule was posted and there's no Errol Spence in there. So check this guy out. This guy who's got he changed it. He changed his avatar. It was a sneaker before, which was very stereotypical. But he says, hey, wait a minute, where's the comment? It disappeared. Huh. Oh, no, yeah, here it is. Oh, there it is. Here you go. See, the guy's got a sneaker for an avatar. Very, very, way to live up to the stereotype. He says, why do y'all care about Spence being active? Every time he had a fight, all y'all did was complain about it not being Crawford. Now y'all care about Spence being more active? And then the other guy replies, and this guy replies with, who cares why Spence tournament is not scheduled? Y'all weird. So let me just point out again the problem with boxing fans like this guy with this reply. The other guy was asking a good question. Hey, why isn't Errol Spence on the schedule? And if he's on the schedule, and why fight all the way into June? Why not? If he's fighting all the way into June, can they negotiate with Terence Crawford? But this guy asks, why do y'all care about Spence? Why do y'all care about Spence? Well, maybe because we're boxing fans. And it's Errol Spence is the top welterweight in the world, as his fans keep reminding us, and yet he's not on the schedule. Is that illogical to ask why he's not on the Showtime schedule? And it's interesting though, because we all know what it is. This type of response is just him being a fanboy, no longer being able to find anything in reality to defend Errol Spence with. So now it's about an ad hominem attack and attacking the other guy, making him seem weird about why he's talking about Errol Spence. Because again, let me just put it into context here. I like watching Navarrete fight. He's entertaining, he goes for the knockout, and he makes that crazy style of his work. But he hasn't been taking his career seriously, and I've pointed this out, and I've pointed out the evidence. Some of the things he said on the Eric Morales podcast, the fact that he's showing up in Mexican fights, Mexican events, looking chubby, which is indicative of him. Too many tortillas and chelas, fucking cervezas. That's the problem. Too many beers. But now imagine somebody came up to me with that, and he said, "Hey man, Navarrete, he's not taking his career seriously. He's getting fat in between fights, blah blah." And then I go, "Man, why you care about how he looks? Why you care about how he looks shirtless? Why, you his girlfriend? You want to see his six pack? I'd sound like a fucking retard, which I often do already. So it just goes to show these guys. Look,
you're a hater.
Yeah, exactly. Why you're hating, Jimmy? Isn't it better even if you like a guy? You got to keep it consistent. That way, you keep a fire under these guys' asses, and we as boxing fans get the best product. Isn't that logical? Isn't that common sense?
Of course, Mr. BDA. It's absurd, actually. Some of the stuff his fans have said. It's entertaining as fuck, actually. I just shake my head. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they'll defend this mother. That's why, they call it a cult on Twitter. And it's true. Spence fan base is like a cult. Because the reason why you do that, what else are you going to defend? His fights? As infrequently as this dude fights. And again, no matter what, even Crawford admit, yep, you're the A side. Then it's indicative upon you, fuckball, to make the fight. No. And at every turn, you have chosen to fight somebody else. You chose to fight Mickey Garcia. You chose to fight Danny Garcia. You chose to fight Ugas. Or not only chose to fight Ugas, your people petitioned the WBA to get him out of the Staniosos fight so you could fight him because you don't want to fight Crawford. Bottom line, if you wanted to fight Crawford, then you could have fought him. But either Heyman or him or both didn't want to make that fight. And he admitted it back in 2019. He told him exactly, well, this is who Al wants me to fight. And everyone to a man, except for the Pacquiao, due to his injury, came to fruition. So his whole career was planned out. So did he sit him down too and tell him that, okay, this is who you're going to fight over the next 4 years? These 3 guys. Like, I don't even understand it. I really don't. But listen, and everything's in-house. And then Spence said, why should I fight you when I can knock these guys out for this kind of money? Okay, sure, there you go.
I mean, these guys that pointing out that, you know, it's like it's the same thing with the PBC. When you point out that the PBC is doing badly, you point out the mistakes they've made, the myriad of mistakes that they made. Now they can defend it because Wilder's leaving the plantation, so's Andy Ruiz and all that, and then they go, why are you obsessed with the PBC? Y'all weird. Y'all obsessed with the PBC. Imagine telling a guy who works at Forbes and who keeps his eye on a certain company or a certain stock that's performing badly and he knows it's going to go down under. Imagine going up to him and telling him, man, why are you obsessed with this stock? Yeah, you're weird. Yeah, weird. You're obsessed. Come on, man. Let's stop acting like children over here. That's all I'm saying. Because it makes these guys look bad. And I know they've been babied by the mainstream media, but they're not going to get babied over here. That's all I'm going to say. Anything else on that, Jimmy?
You're 100% right. That's exactly what it. No, you're 100% right. That's exactly what it is. They have nothing else to say. Yeah, I know. That's a good analogy. A stockbroker. What are you so obsessed with fucking the stocks for?
Oh man, it's all fun though. It's all in fun. Here's the thing though. And by the way, people are saying open phone lines. Yeah, I'm going to give it one last try with the phone lines because I'm telling you, the connection, I don't know if he can handle it. I don't know what's going on today. But I'll try to open up the phone lines. But while I do that, Jimmy, they're saying, Eddie Hearn is saying he expects that WBC to mandate Beterbiev versus Callum Smith. While at the same time, supposedly they were open to, they said, I forget where I read it, but they were talking about negotiations between Beterbiev and Bivol were actually ongoing. Now they're saying this. Do you expect the Top Rank to say, if this fight gets mandated, Beterbiev, Callum Smith, do you expect them to vacate the WBC in order to make the Bivol fight?
Yeah, well, no, Top Rank, you said? Would they vacate to make the Bivol fight?
Yes. Would they tell Beterbiev to get rid of the WBC?
No, I think what they could do is just like, who is he supposed to fight? Who's he mandated to fight?
Callum Smith.
Callum Smith, right? Yeah, pay him. Throw him $500,000. I don't know if they would, but they could just pay him. Say, listen, or we'll pay you $500,000, and then what you do, you don't even have to pay him $500,000. Say you could go pay him $250,000 cash or a check, and then with both sign, a document saying you will be our next guy, or we will forfeit our belts. You will be whoever you get the winner. Callum Smith gets the winner. We're going to fight to unify this division, and you get first crack at winner. So instead of fighting Beterbiev for 3 of the belts, he could fight, either Beterbiev again for all of them to become unified champion. I'd much rather take that. Yeah, it'd suck that he'd have to, wait again, especially if he's going through a training camp. But I don't think they're at that stage. And plus, you could take on somebody else. Just take a stay busy fight. Listen, when it's a unification bout, you could make anybody walk away for that. Smith would I guarantee he'd walk away because the alternative is, instead of this fight, because it's not like he's an old man, you have to try to age out. You would get Beterbiev a little older, more sharp one, say if he does fight and beat Bivol. So it's only benefits to you. Plus you'd be the undisputed unified champion at 160. At light heavyweight. Mm-hmm. If you beat him, or if you if you face Bivol. So depends too. Like maybe they don't want to fuck with Bivol at all. Maybe they're like, nah, because then if we do that, we might end up with Bivol, and we don't think which I wouldn't see happening.
Right, because that's weird for Beterbiev. What would be the plan? I think Steve Kim said it last week when he was on the show, where he said Beterbiev is like the older guy. Why would they stall this fight? He's only gonna get slower in the ring. Make the fight now, man. So yeah, you're right. But by the way, I like how you said that. I like how you said, throw him $500,000. That's how you know Jimmy's a big spender. Like for him, he understands $500,000, that ain't nothing. Throw me $500,000 over here, or $500,000 over there. It's like Tony. Remember Tony Montana when he goes, "I go on the street for you. $1,000 here, $1,000 there. You got it." It's peanuts for these guys. Peanuts, I say. The phone lines are open, by the way.
It is when you think about it.
Well, yeah, you're right though. But I'm glad you clarified that for us, and that the phone lines are open in case anybody wants to call in. And wouldn't you know it, somebody wants to call in. Let's see.
Let's see what you got. Hey, by the way, Mr. BDA, I posted because Ego was listening to the last show, and when Robbery, I don't know if he's listening, but the whole he believes Tank's a more skilled fighter, and he said he goes on other podcasts and they agree with him. And a lot of people are like, well, you're on an echo chamber podcast, and with an ulterior, obviously trying to push a narrative because nobody thinks that. And so he ran that poll. Did you see that? 219 votes in that poll, and 90% said no. And in that, one guy put in there, I voted yes by accident. So even one of the votes that went for Tank Davis was by accident.
I don't know, man.
I just think it's kind of funny.
I'd like to see the race of these people. It seems a little white to me, if you get my meaning. Let's go to the phone lines, and I want to add more about 214. You're on the air.
A little YT.
A little too light. 214. You're on the air. 214. What's on your mind?
Hello.
You're on the air. 214. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So, guys, I hope you're having a good day. I want to talk about the PBC. Yeah, I agree with you, man. They've dropped the ball a lot, and they've done some things. They should have made the Hurd and Charlo fight. They should have made a couple of fights earlier. They're not possible now because some of these guys they're too inactive, or their style they took too many punches and they can't be at that level anymore. But I still think they're doing the best by boxing this year. Despite all that, because I'm done with the zone for right now. I'm never going to buy that thing again. And I think it's convenient that Colin Smith got injured, and now Eddie Hearn is trying to get the WBC to mandate that Archer better be a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was supposed to fight this weekend.
Yeah, you're right. It's very coincidental, and over here, I don't believe in coincidences. I just don't. Now, but it's interesting, though. You mentioned the PBC dropping the ball. My friend, they didn't just drop the ball. They threw that shit in the sewer. I mean, they've got a good schedule, a decent schedule, but it's. Let me point this out to you. Okay, if you look at the month of March, next Saturday is going to be March the 11th, I believe, or the 12th. Tim Tszyu versus Harrison. It doesn't say Showtime. It doesn't say Showtime on the ESPN app. I mean, on the ESPN schedules. So I don't know if it's what type of Showtime it's going to be. Yeah. So then after that, the only other Showtime date is on the 25th, but that's pay-per-view. So that's not Showtime. Then you go to April. You got to go all the way up to April the 8th, Fondora on Showtime. That's it on April. In May, they've got Puello versus Rolando Romero. And then on June, Adames, Julian Williams. So it's one card per month. If you're paying for Showtime, which is what, $15 plus tax on top of your cable bill, I don't see the justification for having it.
Wait, but isn't the Gervonta versus Ryan fight also going to be announced for April 22nd?
But that's pay-per-view, though.
So that's like, isn't that also by Showtime, though?
It's by Showtime, but it's pay-per-view. I'm counting the fights like if you're gonna buy Showtime, you're gonna pay for it $15, or I don't know how much it is in the United States. It's one card per month, and then if you want to watch Davis Garcia, you gotta pay extra on it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I thought they would. I still think they're doing the best by far. Top Rank doesn't really have a lot of things going on right now. In the zone, they have some cards, but it's not cards that most people are interested in. It's mainly for domestic level fighters, that for hardcores in the UK, or just people who just support UK boxing.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. The zone is not putting. Yeah, the zone is not putting on their best, but they're putting on multiple cards per month. Same thing with ESPN, and then on the zone you're gonna have Joshua. I mean, in April and May you're gonna have Joshua and Canelo fighting, and it's not gonna be pay-per-view. So, I mean, those look like pretty good cards to me, man.
I guess, I don't know. If you think Canelo versus John Ryder is a great fight, I don't think it's a great fight. And this, for us, it's just to see how Anthony Joshua looks. It's just to, see how he's doing. It's not really like a great fight. That's not a great fight. It's just to see where are you, because he's got a better trainer. That's the real intrigue is at. It's not the fight. It's just how are you there? Are you still trying to get? Or you can get back to the elite level? That's where the intrigue at. And for Canelo, it's just like a fucking glorified. It's not a glorified tune-up, but it's just for him to go back to his hometown and just talk to his fans. But I'm talking about competitive.
Well, with Anthony Joshua, with Anthony Joshua, you never know how he's going to look. This guy, Jermaine Franklin, is no pushover, and John Ryder certainly no pushover.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, but John Ryder certainly.
I'm not.
Listen, John Ryder did just about as.
I'm not saying they're pushover, but competitively, it's not the same. It's not. I don't know. The intrigue is just for me with the Joshua fight. Is he going to be the same? Do I think it's going to be competitive? It probably will be for like maybe 1, 2, 3 rounds, but Joshua should beat him.
Well, put it this way, caller.
Like I said,
Put it this way, caller. Put it this way. You've got multiple cards on the ESPN, multiple cards per month on Showtime and ESPN. You got some of the biggest names fighting, even though they're not that mega fights. They're still good. Solid.
How many multiple cards? Because so far it's been a while since I've really seen a top rank card.
Okay, but check the schedule. I just told you there's multiple cards per month in the coming month of March, April, and May. On top of that, like I said, you got the big names fighting, and just on sheer volume, it's much better than the Showtime. And Showtime doesn't have volume. And then on top of that, you talked about mega fights or big fights. What big fights do they have that are not pay-per-view?
I said more interesting, more competitive fights. I don't think Ramirez versus Coleman is that interesting. I'm sorry. But, hey, the undercard, I think Sanisa versus that Rubik girl might be good. But I think Robert series, that's going to be on the 8th. On the 8th, the 1st of April. That might be, I think that's pretty good. But I don't think Top Rank is doing that well.
What about Inoue? What about Inoue Fulton? I think that's the best fight of the year. That's a top rank fight.
That's the best fight. That's the best fight. But that's in May, all the way out there in May. So it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
But
that's top rank. And then Lomachenko Haney, that's top rank also.
Yeah, that's going to be a May. Yeah, but I say right now, the way things are going right now, I see Showtime is doing the best right now.
Well, let's take a look at that and see how they're doing. I mean, they got a good card last night, even though on paper it didn't look like it was going to be that competitive. But I mean, let's look at this. We got Tim Tszyu, Tony Harrison. Let's not count I'm not going to count the pay-per-view, by the way. Because, again, we're counting free fights here that you're paying already for. Then you've got Fundora versus Brian Mendoza. That could be interesting because Mendoza's a puncher. Brandon Lee versus Pedro Campa. Okay. You've got Puello versus Rolando Romero. I mean, Romero's a glorified, spoiled...
Club fighter.
Prospect, because he should have had a loss before Tank Davis. Gary Anton Russell versus Ken Cruz. I am not impressed with Ken Cruz. I don't know why they didn't make Russell versus Barthélemy the rematch. They should, instead of putting Barthélemy in against another guy. I guess what they're going to do is they're going to get Barthélemy a win, and then they're going to put, now that he's older, they're going to put him in there with a rematch against Russell to make Russell look good. You got Showbox, the new generation, but it doesn't even say who it is. Then you got Carlos Adames versus Julian Williams, whose last win, by the way, was a Mexican with a record of 11 wins and 8 losses.
You forgot the Aegis versus Rajan Butia fight. That's the co-main for the Sebastian Fundora / Mendoza fight.
That's not what it says.
Well, BDA was just talking about the headlines.
But it doesn't. But that fight, it doesn't. I don't see it here though. It says Brandon Lee Campa, Luis Nunez versus Christian Olivo. I don't see that fight there, caller. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'd have to check. But on that poster, they don't have it. And then on June the 24th, Carlos Adames, Julian Williams. I mean, Julian Williams, he lost 2 fights in a row, and then his last win was against a Mexican club fighter who's 11 and 8. You got Erickson Lubin coming off a loss, taking on Luis Arias, who I don't think has he even fought since he beat Jarrett Hurd? And then Fernando Martinez, who's must-see TV against Junior.
Yeah, I think he lost.
He fought again.
Right. So I don't see
Fought again,
Showtime
he
being
lost
that
to,
much. So all I'm saying, caller, is Showtime lacks the volume that the other guys have, and their fights are not that much better. If you want to even go individually say one is better, they're not that much better. So I don't know what's going to happen with Showtime, man.
I think that Figueroa and Magsayo, two guys who were former champions, coming together at their weight is a lot more appealing than who's fighting in March this month for Top Rank. The headline I said it was Ramirez versus Coleman. Yeah, I think it's more impressive than that. Ramirez should be fighting someone more to his up his league. Like I said, I still think they're doing the best right now. I don't think they might be the whole year, but right now it's looking that way.
Well, I disagree, but I guess we'll have to agree to disagree. Anyway, listen, caller, we got to move on. Thank you for your call, and call back next time, all right, man?
All
right, take it easy. Hey, listen, I want to see the big fights, and I want to see good competitive fights. I don't care who it's from. Showtime, The Zone. The Zone has one. I mean, there's, like I said, there's criticism for everybody. The Zone has Rosado versus Zurdo Ramirez fighting. I mean, come on, man. How many times are they going to put... I know Rosado deserves paydays because he gives it his all and all that.
Trash fight.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. That's trash. I'm disgusted with the Zone. I'm not going to lie. Making the fans pay for their fucking... Getting hooked up with the NFL. I don't give a fuck about the NFL like that. So now I'm going to stop paying more for your shitty domestic level boxing matches because you motherfuckers wanted to go in bed with the NFL. Ugh.
Hey, that's very un-American of you there, Jimmy. Saying fuck the NFL.
Not for long, baby. Push that woke bullshit. I'm done.
You want to piss on the flag while you're at it? Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's national. We're not getting into politics. When you start fucking doing something as divisive as we got one national anthem, period. And you start fucking playing the black national anthem at the Super Bowl.
All right.
See you later.
Let's get into it.
I'm just telling you why I walked away. That was the final straw for me last year.
Right. No, I got you. The other thing is Lee Wood, by the way. Lee Wood, they're saying about they're trying to figure out who they're going to put him in there with. Representatives of our matchroom are saying that they're probably not going to go for the Lara rematch straight up. They're going to maybe put him in against a Jordan Gill or a Liam Davis. Liam Davis wouldn't be an easy fight. That wouldn't be a gimme. And then they said that there's also big fights out there like Kiko Martinez, Warrington, or the Lara rematch. So we'll see what happens. But may I just say that I think Wood...
I don't think they're going to do the Lara. But...
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. They shouldn't, and I'll tell you why. Wood deserves a gimme. Because if you look at his record, he fought Zucan, Michael Conlan, and then Lara. I mean, that's three of the top featherweights out there. He deserves a bit of a gimme here after getting concussed in the Lara fight. That's all I'm saying.
Right. By today's standards, I guess that goes by the way, but back in the day, I would even still say that's weak. I don't rank Colin. I just don't. I think Michael Collins a feather-fisted Irish kid. I just don't think he punches hard. He's with a lot of boring fights up into that. Most exciting thing he's ever done was go through the ropes.
No, but my point was, I agree with you, but my point was that he's gone through some hard fights. Like the Zucan fight was a good battle. The Conlan fight, say what you want about the guy, but he took some damage in there, Wood did. And then I guess...
Oh, yeah, no, that was a good beef. Yeah, it was exciting, especially for the people in the crowd that night. Yeah, definitely.
But that's what I'm saying, that he deserves a bit of a soft landing after...
Exactly, by today's standards, too. But I'm saying back in the day, that would just be part of the course, man. There was a year that Marvin Hagler fought 7 times. Roberto Duran, the world champion, fought 8 times in 1 year. You know what I mean? And some of these beefs were like fucking crazy tough. Yeah, they would say like Julio Cesar Chavez. He had some gimmies. Yeah, he had some gimmies, but he would have fucking 4 fights in 16 months against killers. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy how things are now. How it's just, and it's not even 15 rounds like it used to be. It's just the bitchifying of boxing. Yeah, it is what it is, and I think last night showed that again. You got a cut lip. He's got a boo-boo on his lip. Fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah, I didn't even see the cut lip because I remember when Diego Corrales fought Casamayor, you could see that split fucking lip, and Corrales didn't want it to be stopped. But then again, that was Diego Corrales. He was a guy that
your lips go numb anyways. There's very little nerve endings in your fucking lip.
Right.
You know what I mean? And a lip can cut all the way up. You can split that shit right up to your nose. Bleed and shit, but oh well, you can stitch it up, and it stitches up nice too, because it's a lot of fatty tissue and it's a lot of elasticity to it. So it looks nasty while it's happening. You get all that meat hanging out and shit, but it stitches up fine, and there's no blood in your eyes. So I just have never seen that. I've never seen a fight stop for a lip cut that at that degree. I've seen shit for big gashes that opened up and not on a lip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though, because Corrales, that it was a big gash, and I think I remember hearing the justification was that it could potentially open up even more and cause permanent damage. But this one, I didn't get a chance to see Hurd's lip. I know he kept a towel on it. Didn't even do a post-fight interview because he had to. I guess they had to go stitch that up right away. But I didn't see the extent of the damage, so it's difficult for me to ascertain whether the fight should have been stopped. I think also it was, like you said, he didn't complain. So he didn't
complain at all. Yeah. And I'm sure they didn't go stitch it up that night unless, well, they were probably Vegas. No, but I don't know where the fight took place because you're not going to want some fucking intern, some emergency room tech guy, some general practitioner sewing you up, not on your face. You want a plastic surgeon. Some of the practices doing the sutures on like grapes.
Right.
That's the guys who are the best at it. You know what I mean? Plastic surgeons do the best sutures. They do inner and outer, and they just really do a nice job.
Let's go to the phone lines. We've got another caller here. We got an 832. 832, you're on the air. 832, what's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. 832, what's on your mind?
So I was, do you remember that one Rashidi Ali's fight versus Rocha?
Yes.
So the main event during that fight was, I believe it was Munguia versus, forgot his name, but in that fight, I'm pretty sure the fight stopped because of a cut on his lip.
Huh.
So, I've seen that before. And also, I had one more question because I don't know if you guys have seen the Discord, but is BDA a felon?
Is BDA a felon? No, sorry, Bob. No.
You're not a felon?
No, sorry, Bob.
I heard that you and Bucha were felons.
What did you hear exactly? I can't believe I'm even entertaining this, but from who did you hear that? Or whom?
And how can they find out if they don't know your name? How could somebody look that up?
Exactly, yeah.
Discord.
Oh, well, if it's on Discord, it must
we were wondering, why the fuck, how does a Hispanic guy end up in Canada?
Well, that's the thing, though. If I were a felon, do you think I'd be able to make it into Canada? They're pretty strict about who they let in. People with little fucking...
Well, they say they weren't allowed in the U.S.
I was born in Mexico, so I don't think they'd let unless you know what? Unless you claim some sort of what do you call it? Refugee status. Like, oh, they're gonna kill me over there, so I am seeking refugee status over here. But nah, man, none of that over here, man. You can't listen. You can't listen to every rumor.
Jimmy,
there's rumors that. Yeah.
Huh?
No, go ahead. I sound like a what?
I was gonna say Jimmy sounds like a lawyer, from New Jersey.
This guy's coming up with all the stereotypes. All right, well, listen, Jimmy does. I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy did have some background in law. The way he, if you watch actually you can't watch him because he got nuked. Although I did download them. But if you watch some of the episodes we did about Daryl Brooks, we covered his trial. Jimmy knows his fair share of the law. So I can understand where you're coming from with that. Anything else you want to say, caller?
Viva Mexico, cabrones!
Órale, I can stand with that. All right, take it easy, man. Thank you for your call.
Thank you. Bye.
He heard on the Discord that I was a felon because I'm living in Canada. I don't understand that argument. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the Second Renaissance. Make sure to check out Second Renaissance on Rumble. We moved on Odyssey. We're still gonna keep it on Odyssey. But Rumble is where it's at right now. We just like what they're doing over there. They're really separating themselves from the rest by emphasizing the fact that they're focusing on freedom of speech, that they will not ban you for any little thing unless you really fuck up. So we're on Rumble now. Unfortunately, you can't find the Second Renaissance on YouTube anymore. It got nuked. But we're back stronger than ever on Rumble. So check it out. I see Butch's in the chat. Butch, if you could please, because I don't have a women, man. I don't know where it is, but if you could please put the link to the new Second Renaissance on YouTube and on Rumble, that'd be fantastic. Fantastic. There you go. Shout out to Butch for putting it up there. What? Shit. Fuck.
Yeah, now that Susan Wazuki, whatever her name is, the CEO, the person behind all the, fucking silencing everybody on YouTube and pushing all the ridiculous stuff, she's leaving. It's just weird. It's a whole cabal of people. I mean, Google owns YouTube, and they're all related. Like the guy who runs Google's, I guess his sister-in-law was Susan Wachowski, the one he was in charge of YouTube. I mean, YouTube loses hundreds of millions of dollars a year, supposedly. I don't know how that works. Probably just the storage they have to, but so Rumble is where it's at.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned too, I think Butcher says BDA Boxing, we're on YouTube. What the fuck? Yeah, I did say we're on YouTube as well. So go check those out, man. Go check those two links. All right. Here's the other thing I wanted to bring up. Erickson Lubin says he's talking about Fundora rematch. That's if he beats Luis Arias, they want to put him in against Fundora. And he picks Harrison over Zoo, which I suppose we're going to talk about later on this week. Jimmy, I wanted to ask you something, and I can't believe I've never asked this. I've never asked for this answer in the 6 years we've been on here, but when you get a guy like Figueroa, he averages about 90-something punches per fight. And he can get away with it because he's got those muscle fibers for volume. Not everybody can do it. But still, most world-class fighters, whether they throw 75 punches around or as long as they're giving it their all, they're really pushing their bodies to the maximum. Now, you often hear fighters, trainers saying in training camp, oh, this guy's peaked. He's peaked. Now he's at his peak level. How do you know when a guy's peaked, and how do you know if he's peaked too early? How do you reel him back so that he doesn't burn out by fighting?
That's actually, like peaking physically. You can kind of control, like powerlifters can actually start controlling their monthly hormones, because men, like women have periods, men once a month have their peak of their testosterone levels. There's a certain time of the month men are the most strong, and guys can control that through chemistry, but not even illegal chemistry, I don't believe. I think it's legal to do the stuff you could take to control that. But it's all about knowing your fighter. See, that's where familiarity of your trainer comes into handy, because a good trainer will notice how you work and will keep a little notebook on you. And they'll notice, man, this kid had nothing but an energy on this day. And you'll see a pattern form. If you work with somebody long enough, you'll notice, sleep affects it. What did you eat the day before? There's certain ways to control that. But yes, peaking too soon and trying to control your peak is not an easy thing to do. It's actually kind of hard. So it also comes into how much sparring you're doing. I think people overspar. Personally, I think they do road work and overspar myself in today's boxing, but undertrain. But yeah, it's easy to overpeak. It's the same thing with overtraining. Your body just gets flushed out after a while, and you can't control the peak, and you're looking flat. It's like when you say, "Oh, he might have overtrained," because because look how flat he looks out there. That's usually when you have a fight delayed. That really sucks. like a guy hurts his hand a week before the fight, and they have to reschedule it 8 weeks out. And a lot of times you'll see people say, "Why are they waiting so long? Why don't they just if it's something that's only going to take a few days? Why are they waiting so long to redo it?" It's usually because, and ideally, if a fight you've trained, you're like 7 weeks in your training camp, and your fight's canceled, I'd want at least a month off before I went back into another camp, because you got to get reacclimate your body and stuff. You can't hold your ideal weight that long. You'll get burnt out, and what happens? You can't get your second wind. That's how you notice. You just don't get your second wind when you're that's when you're flushed. Like, you usually you start breathing through your mouth, and all of a sudden you get that, it's like the runner's high and jogging. You get into that, the physical sport. But yeah, no, it's not an easy thing to do. Again, that's where the familiarity with the trainer definitely comes into handy. Someone who knows you, and you can just tell by how you're moving that whether you're lagging or not. That's why I don't like guys who change trainers all the time. They don't get no continuity.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, man. Like you said, the familiarity. Know how when your fighter is at his best. And if he's at his best and it's too early in training camp, how do you reel him back and say, listen? Because that's the thing, though. Victor Conte, he's a lot of boxing for a long time was very traditional. It was hit the back, hit the mitts, hit the double end bag, speedball, sparring. And if your strength and conditioning was pull-ups, push-ups, and dips, that's it. You don't touch weights. Now they've got sprints. They're doing the oxygen tents and whatnot. They're finally getting up to the 21st century, and I don't know how much of the traditionalists actually were right and how much the new school is right. Because Victor Conte, he said when he was working with Mikey Garcia, and I think he said he does this with everybody. He does 3 days of training, 1 day off, and then 2 days. And then 1 off. So there's multiple days off. Whereas old school guys were like, no, you train 6 days a week, and then on Sunday you take it off. That's it. And I'm thinking, I don't know, man.
That's stupid. Yeah, it's too much.
Your
body needs time to recuperate. That's way too much. I agree with Conte. That's smart. You need 24 hours of just healing time. Doing a 3-day 1 off, 2-day 1 off is smart. That's the way to do it. I 100% agree with that. Train harder, not longer. Just train with your training sessions. Make sure you're not wasting any time, and don't overtrain. But you can still do road work. You can take a day off from the gym, but still do some road work. Depends on, but your conditioning, your lung condition should always run. That should be one. That should be or go swim, go do laps if you don't want to put the strain on your knees. But you can always work your cardiovascular muscle. That doesn't you don't need time in that off of that. But whereas again, that's structural muscle, skeleton muscle needs time off to recuperate. Right. That's where steroids come in handy. That's the whole idea behind steroids. You just recuperate real quick,
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. That testosterone and all that's helping you. Like if a guy normal guy trains 3 days, and then the next day he's super sore and he can't train. Whereas the guy that's taking PEDs is like, hey man, let's go again. That's why I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, but fuck, when I used to hear about some of these UFC guys, I do two a days, they call it, like 2 trainings a day, and something. One guy goes, I even do sometimes 3 a day. It's like, okay, who the fuck is training 3 days, 3 times a day, multiple times, training across all week? That can't be normal. You can't do that, man.
In UFC, I could see where you would do a couple times a day, only because there's so many disciplines involved. You know what I mean? You might want to do boxing in the morning, wrestling at night. I could see splitting it up. If you, that's just my opinion, because there's so many more disciplines. Or maybe you want to work on just blocking leg kicks, checking, because that would be real hard for me to learn, to check in my hooks. Checking the leg kick. I know my calf would get chewed up big time because I'm just, I don't have that mindset of someone's going to kick me in my calf when I'm facing off against them.
I got you. But it's still weird how some of these guys do it. Here's the other thing.
Those guys too, I think they're pretty lax in their fucking steroid testing over there. I know they pop them now and then, but come on.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. And for a while, they were just letting them do. Almost everyone is. Speaking of
UFC and steroids, Jon Jones is the heavyweight champion again.
Yeah, are they just?
He won last night.
I heard they don't have anybody over there in the heavyweight division. So if this guy is in there,
they let the star walk. Tried to hold him over a barrel, and he said, "Nope, see ya." Because they how many times have these guys going to see that? The UFC doesn't. No matter how big you get, there's always going to be somebody else. There's so many UFC gyms. MMA gyms around the country and small promotions they can pick from. So many minor leagues per se to choose from. You can go out and grab people, boom, boom, boom. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what promotion you're with. Look at one of the biggest name with fucking the biggest name over at Bellator. He jumped at the UFC chance to be with the UFC. That little musclehead there, fucking Chandler. He's lost a couple of times, but he always puts in excellent fights.
Man, Chandler and Russ. are going to be jumping over to UFC. But yeah, man, I mean, the UFC, it's like boxing. There's always somebody else that's going to come along next. Boxing, I heard that, I forget what people were talking about that, about how, what's going to happen after Canelo and Joshua disappear. Well, after De La Hoya disappeared in circa 2008, now, when he lost to Mayweather, and people were like, well, what's going to happen once De La Hoya retires? Because he was close to retirement by then. And what happens after Mayweather? Well, Pacquiao came along. And then for a while, it was Pacquiao and Mayweather. And then it's Canelo and Joshua. And someone always comes along, though. The problem, though, is Pacquiao and Mayweather were two of the biggest stars in or around the same division. So they were going to fight eventually, and that was creating a lot of hype. Right now, we don't have, like I said, Canelo and Joshua. They're the biggest stars, but they're completely different weight divisions. So it's not as big as Mayweather Pacquiao was that era. But someone always comes along to carry the sport. And sometimes it's the guy you least expect. But it's got to be a power puncher, though.
Yeah.
It's got to be a power puncher.
It's just, I don't think there's going to be anybody for a long time like Canelo. 60 fights and fucking pulling those kind of numbers. It's going to be a while, you know. Bam Rodriguez is a smaller guy. I think he could have been it. But the smaller weight classes just never have, historically put the numbers, don't grab the same numbers as the bigger guys.
Hey, by the way, real quick.
You need a rivalry. I'm sorry, but yeah, you need a rivalry. Those will always work good. Mexican, Puerto Rican.
But the problem is, though, in today's boxing environment, they'll milk that for all it's worth. I mean, just look at Mayweather Pacquiao, how long it took them for them to fight each other.
5 years.
They thought, oh, we'll just match them with other guys, and those be big fights. Not really, man. Mayweather Maidana, those fights weren't big. Pacquiao versus Brandon Rios, that wasn't a big fight. Neither were the Bradley fight. So just make the big fights happen, man. Give us what we want, and we'll be happy. Otherwise, we're just gonna bitch about it and throw you under the bus.
You know what's so funny about that Pacquiao fight? When I call into the radio station here in Boston, it's the biggest Boston radio show. When I call in every now and about the Bruins and the historic year they're having, they just they went to 100 points faster than any team in NHL history, surpassing the 1977 Canadiens. So it's just a magical year they're having. It's just credible. But they still remember me from, you're the guy who warned us, because they literally flew out to the Pacquiao fight. Like, they flew out, Felger and Mass, the show I listened to 2 to 6 in the afternoons, and Monday through Friday. And I warned them, like, don't go. You're going to regret it. And they came back, oh, my God, I will never go to another boxing match. I won't ever cover another boxing match. Oh, they were pissed. That fucking fight did so much damage to the sport.
You didn't even watch the fight, by the way, right?
Nope. Didn't bother. Fuck that. Waste of time. It was going to be a horrible fight. I knew it was going to be a horrible fight. And it was kind of prophetic, because it came true. It was, from what I hear. I've seen a few, like, bits and pieces, like highlights, or whatever highlights you can get from it. But no, I've never seen the fight. And I definitely didn't watch it then either.
Exactly. Yeah. People make it out to be like, oh, it's because you're a Pacquiao fan, or people, vice versa, people criticize Mayweather. It has nothing to do with whether you're a fan or not. It was the fact that it was so hyped up and so over marinated that by the time it happened, it was such a whatever you think of both guys, whoever you were rooting for, it was a boring ass fight. And the fact that someone actually tried to sue the promoters for that piece of crap just goes to show you how much.
2,500 people, 2,500 plaintiffs in one of those collective lawsuits sued Showtime. But they lost. The case got thrown out. But imagine for $100, they were so pissed. Imagine being that angry. Well, historically, people will always complain before they give compliments. Like, if you leave something at the store, like, tell us how you feel. You're always going to have more people complain. People will always they're more motivated by anger. People will go and do things when they're angry than when they're happy. It's just a weird dichotomy with humans. But it's true. And so, going into the fight, he had a bum shoulder. He let that be known. He let that slip 2 weeks beforehand. Plus his size. I just knew Pacquiao was too small to overcome what Floyd can do to make that fight exciting. If I knew Floyd would be able to do what he could do to, both of them. It's on both of them. But I wasn't a huge Pacquiao fan.
Yeah,
I just knew I wasn't going to waste my fucking time or money. $100.
Let's forget about the
charging
past.
for that trash.
Let's forget about the past. Fuck that fight. One thing I did want to say, though, was, speaking about injured shoulders, there's a video that came out of Lomachenko in a gym, and then Shakur Stevenson walks in. First of all, Shakur Stevenson looks huge compared to Lomachenko. You got to wonder, the people that don't give Lomachenko credit, at the same time, they admit he's undersized for the division. So he's beating all these guys, and even when he loses, like what he did against Teofimo Lopez, it's very, very, very close. And yet they still want to say that the guy is overhyped. I don't get that logic. But in any event, Lomachenko confirmed that the fight versus Haney is going to be May the 20th, I believe. Now they still don't know when that fight's going to take place, or where actually.
Well, he signed his contract. He signed his contract over a month ago.
Right.
And he did the same thing too. You know, he did the same thing with Teofimo Lopez. He signed a contract 4 months before Teo did. Signed his. He signed his contract in December of 2019. He had signed the paperwork on that.
Oh. Well, what I was trying to get at was that they still don't know where the fight's going to take place, whether it's in the Middle East or Vegas. But I think Lomachenko sort of said that he thought maybe he was leaning more towards Vegas. That's where it's probably going to take place. In any event,
if I had a bet, I would bet it would be Vegas.
But we did talk about. I remember I played that clip a couple of episodes ago of Chris Mannix and Max Kellerman, and Chris Mannix said, "Yeah, Lomachenko signed his part of the deal. Haney hasn't." So you got to wonder, why is Haney still... What's he complaining about now is what I'm wondering. Because he threw Top Rank under the bus. He thinks they're after him or they're against him. He did the same thing with Kambosos, dragged the deal until Lomachenko came in and said, all right, I'll sign it. And then Haney said, well, I'll take the same deal. It's like, well, a little too late, man. I'm telling you, Haney was lucky. I don't understand why, because Haney beat Kambosos twice. Why weren't they confident about their chances of beating Kambosos? Are they not? Are they just... Do they not? Are they unaware of how to gauge his talent, or what's going on here?
They were just really adverse about going to Australia. They didn't want to do the travel. It's rough on you because it's like it's 12 hours behind. You can get jet lag is a real thing, and sometimes it takes a while to get over it. So you got to go there at least 2 weeks. So at some point you got to hold part of your camp there. Remember, Lomachenko said, "I'll fly out tomorrow. I'll hold my camp there," because they were saying because of the COVID restrictions.
I understand what you're saying, but fucking Lomachenko's always training abroad. Hazim Rahman, when he fought Lennox Lewis, he was in South Africa, I think, a month acclimating there. It's like, why do these American fighters, and it's almost always Americans, I hate to say it, but it's almost, they complain about, Australia. Imagine you go to Australia and you spend a month there training. Why not? It's sunny. They got beaches. You watch the kangaroos fucking. Why not? What's so negative
Beautiful
about
women.
that? There you go. What is so negative about that? That's what I'm trying to get at.
They like that home school. They like that home cooking. They know the American in America is
they
like it.
They want that. They want to stick with the collard greens and the grits. Nah, man. You're a boxer. You're a fighter. A fighter's supposed to be like a musician. You go where the business is. You go where the work is. That's what these guys have to fucking understand. And this guy was reluctant to do it. And then look what happened when he did it. He beat him twice. No controversy.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, it just sometimes baffles me why you would not like Lomachenko. Again, I didn't like his arrogance when he first came along. I'm just because I'm a traditionalist. I don't like change coming in on you, demanding to fight for a title for your first professional fight, like what he wanted. I'm like, come on, man, put your fucking dues in. So. Yeah, I'll admit that. But once I started watching him, I'm like, holy shit, this kid is fucking brilliant. And he didn't duck anybody. He tried to fight everybody, and the people who didn't fight him, a lot of people ducked. And if you're a pure boxing fan and you really just want to see great talent fight each other, there's no reason to shit on Lomachenko. And come on, we both know it is what it is. Just go on Twitter, and 99% of the fucking, there's a one common denominator in the avatars, and it isn't just that they're all peace standing up.
I mean, listen, it's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah, listen, guys, these guys act like pros. They should act like pros and just fight with them. By the way, somebody mentioned, somebody mentioned in the chat, but I think they raised a comment. Lomachenko doesn't have to do 12 hours back and forth. That's what I'm saying. You show up a month before or 3 weeks before at least. You don't have to show up there the day before and then you get the fucking jet lag excuse. Because that's what it is, excuses. You want to blame the guy for the shoulder. I'm going to blame people for all the other little things. Hey, by the way, may I say something else controversial? There's some people that are still skeptical about Garcia versus Davis taking place. But at least those guys have press conferences, which makes it unlikely that all of a sudden they're going to pull the plug on that one. The one that I'm more worried about is Haney versus Lomachenko. I think Haney is going to try to pull something off there. Because, again, he still hasn't signed the contract. So what's going on here? I'm dubious about that one. I'm skeptical. A little scared as well. A little frightened. A little bit.
And because he holds the belts, Lomachenko gave into all that. Like he says, like, yeah, he's the champion. He's the A-side with this. He gets to be the last one coming out of the ring. I gave him all the things. He just said, let's just make the fight because he knows time's of the essence. And I think they're all trying to age him out. I mean, obviously, he should be fighting at 130 tops. I think at 126 when he was at his prime. Like I was watching that fight last night, for instance, Figueroa against the kid he fought last night. I was thinking, Jesus, Lomachenko would have fucking took these guys apart at 126. Would have taken them apart. They wouldn't even put a glove on them because they're just so kind of Miranda-ing going forward. They're so easy to read.
Well, we'll see what happens there on May the 20th. Hopefully the fight happens. I've got a couple of things. I want to start doing some live film analysis again. So I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the clips we're going to watch. As always, I'm going to send them to you guys beforehand so that you can watch them and have something to say about them. And then we'll come on the air here.
Yeah, we definitely got to do that with the Inoue Fulton. That's going to be a great fight. That's going to be a great fight. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most. Absolutely, man. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Well, with that being said, nice little short show here, 2 hours. Sorry about the phone lines. We couldn't open them sooner, but we were encountering some technical issues. Hopefully, we'll have them sorted out by the next episode. In any event, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that like button, fellas. Hit that like. Jimmy, anything else you want to say before we move on?
Well, I just thought everybody should check out the Stephen Fulton interview with Brian Custer. I thought it was kind of funny. I mean, I respect him. He's going over there and stuff, but I think he's saying, well, all the fans are obsessed with his power and his knockout ratio. That doesn't mean nothing to me. I think I'm going to outskill him, outclass him, meaning I'm going to avoid trying to fight him, which is the smart thing to do. But at one breath, you're saying his power doesn't mean anything. You don't think he's going to carry it up. But you're all in the next breath, you're saying how you're going to, not try to fucking engage with them. But my thing is this: you went life and death with Figueroa. I don't know, man. I think he didn't have to make that fight look as close as it was. If he's as skilled as he is at avoiding getting hit, and you had Figueroa, touching you as much as he did, I don't know. Inoue's a lot sharper shooter, and he's got fucking walk-off power with both hands. And that's not a big jump from 118 to 120. Well, it is at that body size, but he's got good-sized calves and legs. That's going to be the fight. Can Fulton move enough? Can he use his legs and his boxing IQ, which is very high, very talented kid? And I just hope they both put on a good performance, because that, regardless who wins, lose, or draw, they both put in a good performance. Their stock only goes up. Just because, I give Fulton nothing but credit. Nothing but credit. Good on him taking that fight. I want that to be, just let that be known. Mm-hmm. Actually taking and going to Japan. He's putting a lot of shame on a lot of the other guys in America that wouldn't do it.
And that's the thing about Fulton, is hopefully he's not underestimating Inoue's skills, because Inoue is just as fast, or I dare say he's faster than Stephen Fulton. He's very explosive.
He's got quick hands. He's got lightning quick hands. Very straight puncher. He's always on balance. Yeah, he's a very, very technical, sound fighter. If anybody thinks he's just a power puncher, it's kind of funny too, because a guy on Twitter yesterday, I wasn't on it, but I was reading it every now and then. I go and people were pulling that because of that, the fucking thing that Ego put out. The poll about Davis being more skilled than Inoue, and that got a lot of people talking in that, and like one kid wouldn't let it go. What do you mean resume? That doesn't mean shit. He's going on about Tank's the most skilled guy, and so people are like, but you gotta judge that by who he's fought. How do you judge a guy's skills? It's like, I say it all the time, like try to judge a professional baseball team who plays a little league team. Obviously, they're gonna look. They could be the worst
possible shape. They could be terrible, and they're going to look like superstars because they're playing a fucking little kids team. So yeah, you can't gauge somebody's skill when they're fighting guys handpicked to lose. That's just my point on that.
Exactly. Well, I was going to say a couple of things about that, but we got 2 phone calls while we were talking about that. Let's go to 972 first. 972, you're on the air. 972, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's up, 972? What's on your mind?
What's going on?
There's a bit of a lag. I'll try and make up for it. I won't be too long-winded, though.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, man, I'm just enjoying this Sunday afternoon listening to the show, man. And as I'm listening to you guys talking, I can't help but notice, man, the sport is far from perfect, but we got some pretty good fights coming up, man. We got, Tony Harrison and Sue, and then Tank Ryan, Haney Loma, Benavidez Clint. It's actually kind of nice for a while to have something to look forward to. But I know you guys ain't going to give me enough time to break down all of those fights, but what are your thoughts on just some of those fights? And also, if Benavidez, for some miraculous reason, manages to get Plant out of there in dramatic fashion early, do you guys feel like he's ready for Canelo, whether or not Canelo actually accepts that fight? I know it's a different story, but would y'all say he's ready?
Well, wait a minute. Let me clarify. Did you say if Benavidez, by some miraculous reason, gets Plant out of there?
Yeah, let's just say he manages to knock out Plant in the 4th round. Yeah, some crazy shit like that.
Okay, yeah. Because I thought you were saying that it was going to be a miracle if he could stop Plant. I was just confused because that's actually what people are. That's the most popular opinion, though. But yeah, go ahead, Jimmy. What are you going to say?
Well, I would say it would absolutely benefit him if he goes out and sparks out Plant and beats him dominantly, or at least beats him more soundly than Canelo. Yes, I think it's only going to help his cause. I think people are going to, you're gonna force Canelo to have to deal with you. You know what I mean? And see, that's the thing with Canelo. Canelo's like the other guys who are just sitting around, man. You're not going to force me to fight you just because you're on Twitter running your mouth. Go out there and put in the work. Because again, if he goes out and sparks out Plant, that's going to make people notice him more. People are going to say, "Oh wow, he beat that dude more than Canelo did." And that'll get maybe more Mexicans calling for it. Because at the end of the day, the people Canelo is going to think and care most about is the Mexican fans. Because remember, they're the ones who got him to fight Triple G. He did not like getting booed by Mexicans. He just didn't. He didn't like his countrymen giving him shit. And to their credit, Mexicans held him to the fire on that. When he gave up his belt, nobody came at Canelo as hard as the Mexican fan base did.
You're right about that, Jimmy, because I'm Hispanic myself, so I can see Canelo's Mexican fan base, but I also see in that same breath he has Mexican fans on his ass behind some of his moves. So that is 100% true.
Yeah, and you know what, caller? I hope we didn't come off as too negative. I hope we didn't come across as too negative, because I've said it in the past couple of shows. 2021 is off to a fantastic start. We've had competitive fights, we've had upsets, and we're just getting started with the schedule if you look at it. So you're absolutely right, man. You do have to point out the good. There's a lot of good to point out. 2023 right now. I think I said 2021. Yeah. 2023. Yeah.
No.
You guys think Fury Usyk get it done?
Yes, I think it's going to get done this year.
You don't think so? I was really looking forward to that, man, because Alexander Usyk, the guy is a madman. He's a madman wearing boxing gloves.
No, it's going to get done, man. Yeah. It's going to get done. It's going to get done, I think, in 2023. I think it's Fury, and they have nowhere else to go, man. They have to make that fight, and people are clamoring for it. And it can be done. There's no... it doesn't involve two promoters that are really at a cutthroat with each other. So it's going to get done, man. I'm not looking forward to it all that much because I don't think it's going to be entertaining. But yes, I do believe it's going to get done. Caller, anything else you want to say, man?
Who do you favor in that fight?
Oof, Jimmy, you go, man. Who are you favoring between Usyk and Fury?
Usyk and Fury? I like to, usually, I'll be honest, I like to see, what they look like on, on the scales and stuff, just to see. But the longer that fight, like, I would have favored Fury sooner, if that fight would have happened when he first went to heavyweight, because he's going to have to get used to carrying that weight around. The more he fights and the more he walks around, and the mindset of heavyweight, meaning not having, because when he was fighting cruiserweight, he could let himself blow up. Now he doesn't really have to worry about that as much. So I don't think he's. I think he has the footwork and the IQ to beat Fury, but Fury has that long stick and his size. I mean, basically, let's be honest. It'll come down to this: how he would beat him is by his size, just sheer size, and keeping the stick. But Fury. Remember how I said, I don't know if this is a little off topic, well, it's about the same thing, but Wilder, remember I said how Fury looked like he was in shitty shape in that third fight, like he was sucking air, opening, breathing, his mouth open the fourth round? Come to find out now, well, probably knew then, I just realized it now, I found out about it. He was going through, he had to leave to go back home. On 2 different times he had to break up his camp in the middle of it. So his trainers, they were talking about, people saying, so Fury wasn't in good shape for that fight. So were they making excuses for him, or is he not taking boxing serious? Because if he's going to fight Usyk, he's going to have to be in the best shape of his life to beat Usyk. Because if he comes into that fight in the kind of condition he was, like against Wilder, 270 pounds, a lot of fucking body fat and not a lot of road work on him, Usyk you'll get found out. He'll save it until he realizes your punches don't have the same steam, and then he'll turn up the volume and start coming in on you. But I expect him to fight more like the way he did against Wilder in the first fight. He's not going to try to come in and bully him and try to, the way he did with Wilder, because he knows Usyk's footwork and our boxing IQs is too high. Right now, I'm probably going to it almost 50-50, but I'm leaning more towards Usyk. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but that's it.
That's okay, man. Caller, hopefully that.
No. It was actually a really good assessment, and the same way that you think Fury would win with his size, which I agree with, is because he's unusually large. I think if for some reason he does not come in with the proper conditioning, that size will be his downfall. Because Usyk, if he can manage to slow him down just a bit, we're going to see him dance and jab and pop and probably hit him with that up jab he was hitting Joshua with.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that was really crafty in my opinion as well.
Caller, I'm curious. Before we go, I'm curious. I want to get your thoughts on this. Let's say that Fury Usyk gets made. Let's say that Fulton Inoue gets made. Let's say Loma versus Haney gets made. And let's say Garcia versus Davis gets made. Which 4 of those fights would you be looking forward to the most?
Just off the top of my head, it'd probably be between either Tank and Ryan, just because of the history, or Fury Usyk, just because everybody loves the heavyweights. Those are all good fights, though. But man, if I could buy a ticket and go to one of those fights, I'd probably go to Tank Ryan.
Well, listen, caller,
to see, because it's a high likelihood that fight's going to end in a knockout.
Listen, I hate to say it,
make sure we're body armor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I hate to say it, but you gave the wrong answer. It was a trick question. The correct answer was the rematch between Fury and Paul. That was the fight that we all want to see. Well, listen, you'll get it the next time. You'll get it the next time. But anyway, listen, caller, we do have to go. Thank you for your call. Call back next time, Raman.
Good call.
It's all good. It's all good, man. Thank you for taking my call, man. By the way, this is Texas Bulldog, man. I done changed my name, man, but I'll be in the chat still.
All right, take it easy out there, man.
Hey, Texas Bulldog.
All right, well, with that being said, we do have to go. Shout out to everybody that called in, everybody that donated the super chat, and everybody that called in, everybody here in the chat. Of course, hold on. I got to thank Jimmy for being on. Bucho was here earlier as well. Hopefully Gonzalo Jones is in the next episode. Yes, we will be back during the week to cover Zoo versus Harrison, because that's a good fight. I might even have to bring a couple of clips just to really, point a couple of things out. Jimmy, you can see, when I share the screen, you can see what I'm sharing, right? You're not watching it on the...
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it on the phone. Yeah, I can see it, yep.
Because now I extended the delay on the, between us and the YouTube. So there's a bigger delay so that it goes smoother. But that means that if you're watching it, the YouTube stream...
And that fight's happening in Australia, correct?
Yes.
That fight's taking place in Australia, right? Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, listen, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody in the chat.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk about Alan R, Knockout Ned, Virtuoso.
You got to go eat.
That's right. Yes, indeed. You know me all too well.
And I got to feed my snakes.
But well, hold on. I want to ask you one thing before you go off the air. But stay there, please, if you can. Shout out to Sergeant Z, USMC, Alan R, Eparokua. Who else was here? Hold on a second. Eddie Valenzuela, Vince Vegas, 8 Count, Bong Bong, Reverend Pickles. If I forgot, Triple JJJ, 1 Foot Out the Door, I Am Your Leader. Shout out to those guys. Official Scorecard Boxing. Shout out to you, fellas. If I missed anybody, it's because we got to go. Hawker Mustang. Take it easy out there, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Catch you in the next one.
Disappointing everyone. All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.